Chapter 123. Wang Hui, the principal of Hongluo Martial Arts School, looked at Jiang Guosheng, who came back with a depressed face, and then at Pan Qingyun, who was dumbstruck on the arena. He suddenly sighed deeply. It was good that they lost. It was a setback for them, so that they wouldn't become self-righteous if they always stayed in the Songqing Martial Arts School circle. As for redeeming their image and making a name for themselves, there were still 6 matches left. Moreover, losing one match didn't mean that they couldn't qualify for the next round. Later, he would ask a familiar reporter to take a picture and publish an article. The focus would be on the footprints and cracks on the bluestone ground, so as to show that Hongluo Martial Arts School was really capable. In Songqing TV station, professional commentator Fang Juexiao and guest of professional 7th Pin Gan Lo looked at each other. They didn't expect this match to end so quickly. Fortunately, it wasn't like this hadn't happened before in low-level professional matches. The TV stations would ask for a few matches to be aired at different times so that they could prepare for the broadcast. After the director's instructions, Fang Juexiao returned to normal. He smiled at the camera and said, "The third match ended so quickly. I thought Lu Cheng's victory over Fang Tong was already very fast. I didn't expect this match to be even faster. But it seems that it's quite normal for a professional 9th pin to defeat an amateur 1st pin, so there's no need to be too surprised. There's nothing to rewind. We'll cut to the scene later and have our reporter do the post-match interview. Today, we saw the debut of a genius fighter and got to know this student named Lu Cheng. He went from having no foundation to defeating a professional 9th pin fighter in half a year. And his fighting style is tough, crazy, and fierce. We can directly feel the masculinity, courage, and confidence of a fighter. If we give him another half a year, or even a year, I can't imagine what will happen. It seems that it's not impossible for him to reach the Danqi state. Maybe in the near future, we'll really remember this young man's name." To be honest, I sympathize with Jiang Guosheng. In the martial arts circle of Songqing, he's quite famous and his strength has been recognized. He's only one step away from reaching the Dan state. But the reality is so cruel. The old will eventually make way for the young. This is especially obvious in the martial arts world. If you haven't reached the Dan state and are over 30 years old, you're really afraid of the young. Alas, this makes a middle-aged man like me sigh with a sense of crisis. 19 years old Lu Cheng and 19 years old Lin Ke are both genius fighters. Songqing University Martial Arts Club is about to set off a youth storm in the preliminaries. Although they're only in the body refining state now, things will really be different at this time next year or the year after. I'm thinking, if Songqing University Martial Arts Club doesn't recruit students, I'm afraid there will be a bunch of people paying money tomorrow. Of course, there will definitely be more students willing to join the martial arts club. After nagging for so long, let's summarize. Let's look forward to the next match of Songqing University Martial Arts Club. Well, they'll go to Yimo and fight against Fearless Squad. This is a team spontaneously formed by several local fighters. They're also the favorite to advance from the group stage. Their main fighter is Wei Xingtian of professional 8th pin, Danqi State. Well, let's move on to the next match and wait for the post-match interview of Songqing University Martial Arts Club and Hongluo Martial Arts Club. Yan Shaoling looked at the increasing number of fans. She pinched her face and finally confirmed that she wasn't dreaming. Whether a martial arts competition was broadcasted on TV or on the internet, the difference in the number of viewers was like heaven and earth. Especially for those who watched the competition online, there would always be people who would search for it. Even if it was only 1/10 or a few tens of people, they would follow it for various reasons, which was still quite terrifying. And this was only the TV stations that weren't in the top 3 video websites that weren't on the internet. When there were more people, there would naturally be different voices. Yan Shaoling soon saw a post with the title, "Lu Cheng is too ungentlemanly, isn't he? Fighting like a street gangster, vicious, ugly and disgusting. Humph." Yan Shaoling suddenly felt that her lungs were about to explode. She opened the post and planned to scold, "No, be reasonable. I'm a civilized, gentle, polite and cute fan of Lu Cheng. The poster was called, "I Just Can't Stand." He wrote eloquently, greeting people between their legs for no reason. Lu Cheng is really dark. Doesn't he have the demeanor of a master? He even breathed in people's faces. Doesn't he find his mouth smelly? Yan Shaoling scrolled down and was about to reply when she saw, Unparalleled Dragon King, posted a picture of Dragon King breathing fire in his opponent's face. Dragon King passed by shamefully, he replied. A new follower named Nia Chichi followed closely with a picture of warrior sage Qian Donglu slapping his opponent's crotch. She added, warrior sage silently gave it a like. Blood-sucking cat followed closely. Dong Baxian was scared and called him an idiot. This sentence was followed by a picture of Yan Zhao Hall Master Dong Baxian when he was young. Yan Shaoling read the replies one by one. Her anger gradually faded and she was constantly amused. She felt that the netizens of her forum were so talented. She suddenly felt that it was silly and cute to reason with them in a serious manner. So she exited the forum and pushed the post reported by her fans to the top. She replied, "Come and check in, everyone." At this moment, she was filled with a sense of achievement and happiness. She saw that the forum finally improved under her and Brahman's care. It was as if the two of them had accompanied Lu Cheng's growth bit by bit. Looking at the increasing number of fans, she laughed foolishly. Looking at it, she laughed foolishly. Looking at it, she laughed foolishly again. Shu Rui suddenly felt a toothache when she saw Lin Ke beat Pan Qingyun. Today's match was wonderful, but it was too short. Normally speaking, a three-person selection match would last half an hour. If the match was a little longer, more anxious, and the strength of the two sides was about the same, and there were a little more matches, this goal could be easily achieved. But now, she looked at the watch on her wrist and found that the time was fixed at 3:11. And this match started at 3 o'clock sharp. Deducting 3 minutes of conversation time, cleaning up the arena, and deliberately extending the time in between, how long would the real battle last? And this was mainly focused on the second match, Lu Qing versus Jiang Guosheng. Those guys in the advertising department will draw circles and curse me. Shu Rui restrained her feelings and laughed at herself. She held the microphone and walked to Lin Ke, who was leaving the arena. She was quickly thinking about the interview in her mind. For Lin Ke, defeating a fighter of amateur first pin was nothing to say. It was not newsworthy. She had to change her angle. Stopping Lin Ke, Shu Rui handed him the microphone and smiled professionally. "Hello, Lin Quebec. I'm a reporter from Songqing TV station. I have a few questions to ask you. Your fighting style just now seemed a little different from before." As a reporter who focused on martial arts, she had a good eye. Lin Ke said coldly, "Shouldn't I go all out from the beginning?" "Well, you didn't do that before. And your opponent was of amateur first pin." Shu Rui almost choked. Pan Qingyun looked at them from the arena and heard the conversation. He felt sad. "I'm of professional ninth pin." To this question, Lin Ke answered matter-of-factly, "People change." "That's so reasonable. I don't know what to say." Shu Rui smiled stiffly and changed the topic. "What do you think of your teammate Lu Cheng's performance today? He even defeated the opponent's leading general. Is that out of your expectation?" Lin Ke thought for a while and said, "I do have some opinions, but I don't want to tell others." Shu Rui was dumbfounded. She stared blankly at Lin Ke, who nodded and brushed past her, heading for the tatami where the Songqing University Martial Arts Club was located. She had interviewed many Songqing martial artists, many of whom were eccentric. But she had never seen someone like Lin Ke. Was his character flawed? Or was he good at telling cold jokes? Only with comparison could one feel. At this moment, Shu Rui felt that Lu Cheng was a good interviewee, 100 times better than Lin Ke. She turned her eyes to the Songqing Martial Arts Club, intending to interview Lu Cheng and comfort herself. Huh? Where is Lu Cheng? Why wasn't he celebrating with everyone? Where had he run off to? Shu Rui was stunned for a moment. She suddenly felt that the Songqing University Martial Arts Club was too capricious. Couldn't they just accept an interview? Humph, if I hadn't proposed this competition, I would have slandered you. She couldn't find Lu Qing, so she had to turn around and walk to the Hongluo Martial Arts School. She interviewed Wang Hui, Jiang Guosheng, and Fang Tong one by one. Wang Hui sighed and said, "They are indeed very strong, but it's not like we don't have a chance. If we had known that Lu Qing had the supernatural ability of fire, the result today might have been different. But no matter what, we still have to congratulate them." Jiang Guosheng smiled bitterly. "It's my own problem. Lu Qing was braver and more determined, so he deserved the victory. Me? I must be unwilling and sullen, but a failure is a failure. There is no excuse. I can only find the problem and try to change it. My joints have been set, but it will take about 2 weeks to recover. I hope Qing Yun and Fang Tong can shoulder the burden. There is nothing to say. I just want to have a chance to fight with them again. I won't be as careless as today." Fang Tong regained his spirit. "Of course, through today's competition, I also found my own problem. A good opponent is a good mirror." After that, Shu Rui went to interview the audience randomly. Looking at her back, Pan Qingyun wanted to cry but failed to shed a tear. "What about me? Won't you interview me? I'm not of amateur first pin, I'm of professional ninth pin." Wang Hui glanced at his last disciple and suddenly felt like laughing. His secret weapon was really a secret to the end. The Songqing University Martial Arts Club entered the locker room, interrupting Lu Cheng's enjoyment. Yan Jika put down the ointment and stood up. Her cheeks were red. She pretended to be calm and asked, "One? So fast?" "Of course. His opponent is of amateur first pin. How much time can Lin Ke spend?" Li Mao answered with a smile. Then he looked at Lu Qing and began to jeer. "You took away the treasure of our martial arts club. Don't you want to show some appreciation? Don't you want to treat us to a meal?" Lu Qing was disappointed because he didn't have the girl's hand to massage him. Hearing this, he answered shyly and happily, "How about tonight? We can celebrate the victory." He didn't want to ask about Lin Ke's enemy. His opponent was of amateur first pin. His name was Pan. What was it again? While speaking, he looked at Yan Jika. The girl was shy and angry, but her eyes were bright. She snorted and turned her head aside. She didn't object to his proposal. This kind of thing must be approved by his girlfriend. We have activities on the weekend. It's still early. It's troublesome to gather us in the evening. How about tomorrow at noon? After the special training, we can go to the cafeteria together. We don't eat anything good, just a small fry. Hey, remember, this is not the purpose of your money." Sun Jian joked, but his girlfriend, Lin Hua, pinched him. A small fry in the cafeteria was at least half the price compared to the same amount in the restaurant. Seeing that Li Mao and others agreed, and Yan Jika didn't show any displeasure, Lu Qing immediately said, "Okay, tomorrow at noon." After that, they changed clothes and cleaned up. When Lu Qing came out of the bathroom, he saw Yan Jika standing in front of Lin Quebec. She put her hands together and made a cute begging gesture. Lin Ke was silent for a while and nodded slightly. Looking for an opportunity, he approached Yan Jika and asked in a low voice, "What did you ask your cousin for?" Yan Jika smiled shyly and said, "I asked him not to gossip and not to tell my family about us." "Your family doesn't want you to date in college?" Lu Qing asked sharply. Yan Jika nodded like a chick pecking at grains. "Yes, my parents all want me to focus on my studies in college and think about dating after graduation. But my mom didn't listen to my grandparents and stubbornly married my dad, didn't she?" "So?" Lu Qing asked. Yan Jika slightly raised her chin and turned her head aside. She snorted and said, "Like mother, like daughter." Looking at her proud and shy expression, Lu Qing was moved and warm. He just wanted to hold her in his arms and give her a gentle kiss, pouring all his feelings into it. Considering that Yan Zhika hadn't completely adapted to the situation in front of so many people, he just reached out his hand and quietly grasped Yan Zhika's delicate hand. They looked at each other and exchanged 1,000 words. After a few minutes, Yan Zhika saw that everyone was done. She quickly retracted her hand and looked up. I'm going shopping with Qing later. I'll treat you to a meal in the cafeteria tonight. We'll hold a celebration party for you. Okay. Lu Qing wanted to say that he would accompany her, but considering that the blabbermouth and straightforward Guo Qing would be in the middle, he gave up. He still had 2 pairs of martial arts shoes, which were enough for now. He didn't need to rush to buy them. When he had time, he would use this as an excuse to go out with Yan Zhika. Chapter 124. Clap, clap, clap. Seeing that the preliminaries had finished packing up, Geezer clapped several times to attract everyone's attention. This old man won't say anything about winning at the start. The preliminaries have just begun, and there are still many matches to go. We can't always be immersed in our victories. As humans, we have to look forward, right? He poured cold water on the cheerful atmosphere. Our next match is still an away game. We'll go to Yimo, which is not far away. It's only 40 to 50 minutes by train. We'll go there on the same day and come back on the same day. We'll save money for our stingy school. Sun Jian didn't get a chance to fight today and had nowhere to vent his energy. He asked excitedly, Coach Shi, which martial arts club is our opponent? It's not a martial arts club. It's a team formed by several outstanding local young fighters who broke the barrier between martial arts clubs. The leading fighter is called Wei Xingtian. He's at Danqi State and professional 8th pin. His goal is to get a place in the division and get a unique martial arts skill as a reward. There are 2 fighters of professional 9th pin and their substitutes are all above amateur 3rd pin. They're the most popular team. Geezer took out a crumpled piece of paper from his pocket and read a few words. Although his description was very strong, it didn't make people feel that he was very serious. 1 of professional 8th pin and 2 of professional 9th pin. Lu Qing suddenly felt that the future of this competition was not bright. However, the goal of his own martial arts club was the National University Martial Arts Competition. The preliminaries were only a way to practice. Overall, winning or losing was not important. Facing a master and suffering setbacks was definitely more rewarding than facing a weak and winning all the way. Even with such a lineup, there was still a big gap between them and Shanbei University Martial Arts Club. Whether they could beat Sanjiang College or not depended on whether they could restrain the supernatural ability of the opponent. Coach, can you tell us more? Young people were not afraid of failure and didn't have any goals for the preliminaries. Li Mao and others were not scared but asked with interest. Geezer coughed twice. I'll send their relevant information to your mailbox tomorrow. Take your time to read it. Why not send it today? Don't you want to leave some time to enjoy the taste of victory? Hearing this sentence, Lu Cheng and the others found it funny, but the excitement and joy of defeating Hong Luo Martial Arts School was restored. They looked at each other, opened their throats, and shouted a few times, shouting out the passion and youth of Zhongyang, victory. Songqing University will win. His voice traveled out of the changing room, making the spectators who were leaving feel bitter and aggrieved. They couldn't wait for the 2 sides to fight again. The school bus left the parking lot and slowly drove to the entrance of Hong Luo Martial Arts School. Lu Qing reluctantly waved goodbye to Yan Zhika and Guo Qing. He didn't board the bus until they got on the online taxi. Guo Qing, that 3rd wheel. Sun Jian, who was sitting next to Lin Hua, sighed with emotion and complained for Lu Cheng. Then he turned around and said with a smirk, Dear, it's still early. Why don't we go for a date? Seeing the sweetness between Cheng and Yan Zhika reminds me of our youth. Let's go. Let's go on a date. Screw you. Lin Hua pinched Sun Jian fiercely, but was still pulled away by him. She shyly waited for the taxi. Chen Zhanghua, Li Mao, and the other single dogs didn't say anything. They all raised their middle fingers at Sun Jian's silhouette. Lu Cheng was angry and amused at the same time. He suddenly regretted not going with Yenjika. Why are you afraid of the third wheel? He looked around and found that Kai Zongming hadn't got on the bus yet. When he was about to take out his phone to ask, he received a call from Little Ming. Hey, the bus is leaving. Hurry up. Lu Cheng hurriedly reminded him as soon as the call was answered. Kai Zongming laughed and said, I won't take the school bus back. Model worker has a girlfriend, right? He said he's going to treat our dormitory and his girlfriend's dormitory to dinner. You know, model worker's family is not rich, and he needs to save money for a date. So we decided to split the bill. Do you want to go? Let's find a place to sing karaoke and then eat hot pot. In this damn weather, it's so cold when the sun goes down. Hot pot is better. Hey, are you going or not? I don't have the space to say anything. How can I answer, talker? Lu Cheng complained, I'd better not go. I'm going to meet Yenjika at the cafeteria for dinner. Hello, Cheng. Goodbye, Cheng. Kai Zongming teased. Since you're dating now, shouldn't you treat us to a meal? Model worker is so self-conscious today. I'll treat you when I'm free. Lu Cheng had decided to treat them to the cafeteria stir-fry. He had to save money and use it where it was needed most. In Hongluo Martial Arts School, Kai Zongming hung up the phone and spread his hands to Zhang Jingya, Wu Qian, and the others. Cheng is on a date. He can't join us. A date? He got Yenjika. Qiu Zhigao opened his mouth and was full of astonishment. Since he chatted with Guoqing from time to time, he was certain that Lu Cheng was pursuing Yenjika. However, he always felt that girls at that level would not be interested in Lu Cheng. Cheng's martial arts strength had increased rapidly, and he had become confident and elegant. It was only this semester, but he would have to spend at least a year or so pursuing her. But this guy got both martial arts and love at the same time. What did he do to move Yenjika, who had so many pursuers? Kai Zongming nodded with a smile. Yes, he has been pursuing her since last semester. Finally, his hard work pays off. Zhao Chang was stunned for a while and blurted out, damn, he's a winner in life. Wu Qian asked curiously, is it the beautiful girl in the martial arts club? Yes, I didn't think it was possible at that time. But how can you know it's impossible if you don't try? What if? What if a blind cat bumps into a dead mouse? What if the girl is blind? Even if Lu Cheng was not in front of him, Kai Zongming could not restrain his impulse to tease him. But in the end, he said, I'm envious of you. A foreign dog. You also have a girlfriend? One of Wu Qian's roommates asked with a smile. Kai Zongming nodded slightly and answered frankly and humorously, of course. Do I look like the kind of guy who doesn't have a girlfriend? Like this one? Zhao Chang and Qiu Zhigao couldn't stand the teasing and hurriedly said, let's go. Don't waste time. Kai Zongming laughed and said, yeah, this is a hostile place. All the members of the martial arts club have left. If we stay here, we'll be beaten up. As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly felt a chill in his surroundings. He saw that the disciples and students of Hongluo Martial Arts School were looking at him and the others with a complicated expression. He was immediately frightened and quickly led the others out of the martial arts school. Facing the remaining sunlight of the afternoon, he said in a tone as if he had escaped from heaven, let's go and have fun. In the car, Guoqing could no longer suppress her doubts and asked, Ku, why do you suddenly want to go shopping? Yenjika loosened her ponytail and flipped her hair. She turned to look out of the window and said with a smile, Cheng's shoes are broken, oh. Guoqing suddenly understood and then said with inexplicable grief and indignation, do you have to stimulate a single dog like me? My eyes were blinded by the flash. Yenjika's shyness was dispelled by Guoqing's reaction. She pursed her lips and said with a smile, then you should get it quickly. Guoqing sighed, why don't you have a flirting tutorial? I want to knock old Xiao out with a stick and drag him back. Seeing Guoqing looking at her, Yenjika laughed and said, what's the use of looking at me? I've never chased a guy before. You need to find a master to guide you. Qing, your facial features are actually not bad. Dress up a little and don't wear clothes that show off your arms and legs. I'm sure you can find a boyfriend. Yes, I think so too. Gua Qing was a straightforward and optimistic person. In the blink of an eye, she put this matter behind her. In the shopping mall, Yenjika took Gua Qing to shop here and there. She compared martial arts shoes carefully as if she was carrying out an important task. The school bus was running. It was empty. Lu Qing occupied 2 seats by himself. He basked in the sun and took a nap. Occasionally, he woke up to chat with Yenjika. He felt warm and lazy. This was what a weekend should be like. After arriving at the new campus, he said goodbye to Li Mao, Lin Kei, and the others and went back to his own dormitory. Li Mao stood there and watched them leave. The scene of the competition just now was surging in his mind. It was fixed on the scene when Lu Cheng and Jiang Guoxing fought and broke their martial arts shoes. He thought about himself and his nervousness every time. Suddenly, he felt afraid that he would be left behind by everyone and never be able to catch up with them again. Then he would never be able to make up for the mistakes he made last year. Well, if I practice a few more times, it will become an instinct. No matter how nervous I am, I can use it naturally. Li Mao took a deep breath and stepped forward. He didn't go back to his dormitory, but to the martial arts gym of Songqing University. Not long after, he carried a change of clothes and stepped through the entrance of the martial arts arena. It was not empty inside. During the weekend, many students came to exercise. They could use everything here, except for the locker room. Li Mao looked around and walked to the men's locker room first. When he was about to take out the key to open the door, a shadow suddenly appeared beside him. Senior brother Chen. He turned his head and was surprised to find that it was Chen Zhanghua. Why are you here? Chen Zhanghua smiled bitterly. I couldn't sit still after watching the 2 junior brothers' competition. I will participate in the professional ranking event in April. I am 100% sure that I will meet Lu Cheng. I just hope that we won't be in the same group. Alas, I thought that the training in the morning was not intense and I could practice in the afternoon. So I decided to come here. You too? Yeah. Li Mao smiled tacitly. This is our weekend. Back in his dormitory, Lu Cheng turned on his computer and clicked on the browser. He wanted to see what changes had happened to his private forum after the live broadcast. 413 fans. He looked at the number in disbelief. There are 413 people supporting me now? This was the number of students from 7 or 8 classes in high school. He scrolled down and found that there were not as many posts and active IDs as he had expected. But this was normal. The silent ones were always the majority, and those who followed him were not necessarily his supporters. He read every post and was amused by the talented answers of the forum members. He was shocked by the fact that Unparalleled Dragon King had become his fan. He was moved by the adorable Eternal Nightfall and Brahman, who were trying to maintain order. He picked up his phone from time to time and chatted with Yenjika, intending to share this matter with her during dinner. Lu Qing also read the chat group of the Longhu Club forum and said a few words. He was caught by Wonton Seller and asked curiously, "Little tiger, why did you disappear again recently?" "I am in love," Lu Qing said with a funny face. He couldn't wait to tell the whole world about his happiness. "Yo, you have a girlfriend so soon? College students nowadays are really making us old guys envious." Road to the arena, and others joked. Brahman even urged Lu Qing to post a photo, but was mercilessly and cruelly refused. Okay, don't force little tiger. He is very shy." Wonton Seller snickered. At this time, Road to the arena, at the moderator, Pig Riding, "We have known each other for a long time. When are we going to organize a meetup?" "Okay, how about after little Wonton finishes her college entrance examination?" Pig Riding Knight answered quickly. "Wow. After I finish my college entrance examination. Wonton Seller said happily. The focus of the group of people's discussion soon shifted to the meetup. Lu Qing watched silently, occasionally interrupting leisurely. Sometimes, he would brag with Fatty Jiang and the others, and sometimes, he would call his mother and tell her that he had won the competition. For him, this feeling was very comfortable. He was not only the calm and fierce Lu Qing in the arena, a genius fighter who defeated strong opponents consecutively, but he was also a living person with his own social circle, his own daily life, his own happiness, anger, sorrow, and joy. Similarly, the people around him also had their own lives. In their own world, they were also the protagonists. When all these things were intertwined, it was called life. The leisure afternoon passed quickly. Lu Qing received a message from Yan Zhika. I am back. Wait for me at the intersection of Red Maple Road outside the first cafeteria. P.S. I am asking for monthly votes. There are more in the day. Chapter 125. Red Maple Road Crossing? Why not wait in the cafeteria? It's so cold outside. Lu Qing was confused, but he didn't care. Wearing his daytime clothes, he quickly ran to the bathroom and put cold water on his face to make himself more energetic. He went downstairs, and walked all the way to the destination. He didn't have to look for Yan Zhika deliberately. He found her among the boys who came and went in front of him. She was sitting on a wooden bench outside the red maple forest, bathing in the afterglow of the setting sun. She was looking at her phone with her black hair hanging down, peaceful and beautiful, like a flawless picture. Lu Qing almost held his breath for fear of breaking the beautiful picture. But the anxiety in his heart urged him to quickly come to Yan Zhika's side. He blurted out, "Are you cold? Hey, what kind of greeting is this? Isn't this what I was worried about just now?" Looking at him who was a little dumbfounded, Yan Zhika stood up, looked around, lowered her head and laughed. "My quilted jacket is quite warm." She was wearing a pink quilted jacket, full of the air of a young girl. Without waiting for Lu Qing to answer, she looked to the side and pointed to the paper bag on the ground as if nothing had happened. "When I was shopping with Ah Qing, I happened to see a martial arts shoe store on sale. I thought your shoes were broken, so I bought a pair. You can try it on." While talking, a suspicious blush appeared on her face. Lu Qing was stunned at first, and then he felt a burst of joy in his heart, like a rolling mountain rock, crushing all other thoughts. She bought it specially for me, didn't she? Or why didn't she mention it earlier or later? Why did she say she was going shopping with Guo Qing just after the competition? Or why did she happen to see a martial arts shoe sale? Glancing at his happy and enlightened expression, Yan Zhika flew into a rage out of humiliation. "I just happened to see it. Where do you think you are going?" Before she finished her words, she suddenly felt a shadow in front of her, and then she was embraced by a thick chest. "You!" she shouted in a low voice, struggling and twisting. Lu Qing heard that she didn't use much strength, so he held her firmly and refused to let go. Yan Zhika tried a few times, but failed. She clenched her fist and hit Lu Qing's shoulder playfully. "How can you hug me like that? In public?" "Because I was too excited and happy." Lu Qing impulsively hugged the girl. Looking at her silky black hair, smelling the waves of fragrance, feeling the light and delicate body, he gradually came to a decision. The excitement just now had lost its intensity, but it had become long-lasting. Everything seemed to have quieted down. Lu Qing wanted to kiss her hair quietly, but Yan Zhika was still not comfortable enough. Worried about the eyes of the passers-by, she struggled again and said in a flirtatious tone, "Hurry up and try on your shoes." Knowing that the girl was thin-skinned, Lu Qing didn't ask again. He loosened his arms and sat on the bench with a smile that wouldn't fade away. He took out the shoe box from the paper bag. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw a few boys passing by with disappointment. They seemed to have found that a good cabbage had been eaten by a dog. Until now, Lu Qing finally understood why Yan Zhika didn't wait in the cafeteria. It felt weird to try on shoes when everyone was eating. After putting on the shoes, he stood up and walked a few steps. He put on the stance and tested the feeling of strength. He praised sincerely, "It suits you very well. It suits you better than the previous pairs of martial arts shoes. How did you know my size?" Seeing that he was really satisfied, Yenjika pursed her pink lips and slightly raised her chin. She said with a little pride, "I am a mountain master with divine foresight." Lu Qing vaguely guessed that she had peeked at his shoes when she was helping him take them out today. But he didn't want to spoil the fun. He laughed and said, No, it's not me." "Then what is it?" Yenjika was confused. Lu Qing pretended to be serious and said, "It's me, a mountain master with divine foresight." Pfft. Yenjika couldn't help but laugh and turned her head. She said with hatred, "I didn't expect you to be such a mushy Qing." After flirting for a while, Lu Qing changed back to his old shoes. He said with joy and embarrassment, "I don't want to wear this pair of shoes. It's the first gift you gave me. What if it breaks?" He had already made up his mind to wear this pair of shoes when he was practicing martial arts. Yenjika snickered and said, "If it breaks, you have to collect the pieces and stick them on yourself. Then you can worship them." On this topic, the two chatted and walked hand in hand into the cafeteria. They chose a small pot of stir-fry. After dinner, Lu Qing didn't want to be separated from the girl. He said in a low voice, "I remember you don't have class tonight?" "Yes." Yenjika answered with a smile. "What do you want to say?" Lu Qing suggested, "Didn't I say I would be your sparring partner this weekend? Yesterday we had a date and today we have a competition. I don't have time to do it. Coincidentally, I don't have class tonight either. How about we go to the martial arts club to practice?" After personally experiencing the atmosphere of the challenge tournament as a substitute, Yenjika was indeed eager to give it a try. Hearing Lu Cheng's words, she hesitated for a minute before saying, "Okay then. Anyway, I haven't been back to the dormitory yet, and I still have my martial arts suit with me. I won't go back to get my martial arts suit. I don't need to be so formal as a sparring partner. Besides, I also have the martial arts shoes you gave me. It's a good chance to experience it." Lu Qing said happily, "Let's walk there and digest first." He lifted all the bags and naturally picked up the girl's left hand with his right hand. Their fingers intertwined and they walked towards the long bridge. "By the way, I have a fan forum now." Lu Qing remembered this and said with a little bit of pride. Yenjika opened her mouth slightly and said in a cute way, "Fan forum? Yours?" Why couldn't these two words be connected? Yes, fans who supported me because they watched my challenge tournament. They established it themselves. Lu Qing clarified, afraid that Yenjika would misunderstand that he had tricked the little girl into becoming his fan. "Really?" Yenjika withdrew her hand with excitement and curiosity. She took out her phone and said, Where is it?" After saying this, she pouted and mocked herself, "It should be out if I search your name." I'm so stupid. She searched for Lu Qing and found the forum. She clicked in and read the post carefully. Lu Qing had an ulterior motive. He reached out and held her waist with the excuse that he was afraid that she would fall. Because it was winter and she was wearing a lot of clothes, he couldn't feel her slender body. These two moderators are so funny. I feel like they are little girls. Yenjika turned her head and looked at Lu Qing with bright eyes. "Qing, you have so many fans who support you before I know it. I didn't expect it either." Lu Qing said sincerely. Yenjika chuckled. "I'll be your fan too." "Well, let's register an ID first. What should I call it?" "It should be simple, plain, generous and direct." Simple, plain, generous and direct? Lu Qing racked his brain and helped to think of a nickname. At this moment, Yenjika laughed and said, "I've got it." "What's your name?" Lu Qing asked curiously. Yenjika took the phone to the other side and said with her back to Lu Qing, "After I reply to the post, you can see it yourself." This made Lu Qing's heart itch even more. He calmed down and waited for a while. When he heard Yenjika say, "Done," he quickly took out his mobile phone and entered the forum. He saw a signpost with a new reply. The reply was called Lu Cheng's girlfriend. He was stunned and his mouth twitched. He looked at Yenjika with a smile. So simple and plain. So generous and direct. Of course. Yenjika smiled and raised her head slightly. In another room in another city, Yan Shaoling also saw this ID and blurted out, "My sister is so awesome." It was still early. There were many teachers and students in the martial arts stadium who came to work out. Yenjika changed into her martial arts suit and Lu Cheng took off his coat and new shoes. They found a secluded corner and started to simulate actual combat. During this process, Lu Cheng not only had to defend with all his might, but he also had to attack with all his might. Since there was no referee, he had to strictly control his strength and discretion. In the beginning, he was very cautious, afraid that he would hurt the girl. As time went by, he gradually grasped the threshold, and his control of his body seemed to have deepened. He felt that he could do whatever he wanted without breaking the rules. Yenjika's footwork was light and fast. Using her spine as a whip, she drove the rebound force from her feet and hit Lu Cheng's head with a cut punch. Lu Cheng lifted his shoulder, put his left arm up and rotated his waist. His muscles and joints shook together and he suddenly exerted force, imitating Jiang Guoxing's swing force. This was his 7th or 8th attempt. He didn't succeed before. Relying on his rich experience in actual combat, he didn't give Yenjika any chance. But after several failures, he had mastered some tricks. Bang! Yenjika's cut punch hit Lu Cheng's arm, but as if she was pushed, she lost her balance and stumbled to the side. Lu Cheng was afraid that she would fall, so he caught up with her in one stride. He reached out and grabbed her forearm. With a skillful move, he pulled her back to lean against him. As she leaned against him, their eyes met. Lu Cheng was close to Yenjika's soft and light body. Looking into her watery eyes, he suddenly felt that the surroundings were quiet. Yenjika also seemed to feel the strangeness. Her eyelashes trembled a few times as if she was a little shy. Lu Cheng could smell her warm and sweet scent. Unconsciously, his breathing became heavy. He did not know if other people would want to be intimate because of the burst of emotions when they made eye contact. He only knew that he was most likely a beast, and emotions were only a part of the reason. Most of it was because he felt that the girl was very beautiful and seemed to be very fragrant, sweet, and alluring. He wanted to kiss her. His breath became heavier and heavier. His eyes became hot and his heart beat faster and faster, full of desire and anxiety. His head unconsciously moved closer to the girl. Thump, thump, thump. Yenjika couldn't tell whose heartbeat it was. It seemed that she couldn't bear such a close approach and didn't dare to look into Lu Cheng's hot eyes. Her cheeks turned red, and her eyelashes trembled slightly. Then she slowly closed her eyes. The closer they got, the closer they got, the closer they were. Lu Cheng held his breath. When he was about to touch her, he suddenly heard a loud bang. Yenjika was awakened. She pushed him away and stepped back like a little white rabbit. She was shy and timid. Lu Cheng was disappointed and angry. He turned to the source of the sound. Not far away, 2 boys were practicing back throws. I have to teach them a lesson and tell them to practice carefully without professional guidance in case they get hurt. Lu Cheng gasped. Yenjika laughed and rolled her eyes at him. She said with a red face, "Let's go back. We have been practicing for almost an hour." Lu Cheng said with an exaggerated expression, "What a pity. I don't know when I will have another chance." Yenjika pursed her lips and looked at the sky. She said in a coquettish yet angry tone, "Let's wait patiently." After taking a shower and changing clothes, the 2 strolled back to the dormitory, enjoying the tranquility and beauty of the night. No matter how long the journey was, it would be over eventually. Lu Cheng and Yenjika stood at the door of their dormitory, reluctant to leave. Suddenly, Yenjika playfully puffed her cheeks and said, "Close your eyes." "Why?" Lu Qing asked subconsciously. Yenjika glanced at him and said, "No reason. Just close your eyes." Lu Qing suddenly thought of her shy initiative when they held hands for the second time. His heart suddenly beat faster. Is she going to take the initiative to kiss me? He closed his eyes and held his breath, looking forward to the beautiful scene. At this moment, he felt his mouth being flicked. He opened his eyes in surprise and saw Yenjika laughing happily while escaping back to the dormitory. It wants to bully me. Lu Qing couldn't help but laugh. He watched Yenjika walk back to the dormitory with light steps, turning his head every few steps. If I had achieved the initial level of ice mirror and could sense it, I would have grabbed her hand, pulled her into my arms, and kissed her fiercely. Standing outside the dormitory, he touched his lips in disappointment and was full of motivation to practice martial arts. P.S. Third update. Thank you all for your tips. Thank you all league leaders. I ask for more votes next month. The gap is getting bigger and bigger. Please support me. Chapter 126. The pedestrian street was brightly lit, and all the shops were still open. The pedestrians were full of youthful spirit. Lu Qing carried the paper bag with the shoebox and slowly walked around. He calmed down and looked around with interest from a bystander's point of view. Did that guy not eat? He's wolfing down the sausages. That couple is probably his senior brother and sister. They found a secluded corner and dared to kiss until the sky turned dark. He took out his phone from time to time to reply to Yenjika's messages. He listened to her complain that she had just learned that she had to hand in her homework in advance. When Lu Qing returned to the dormitory leisurely, Kai Zongming, Qiu Zhigao, and the others hadn't returned yet. The small dormitory was quiet and peaceful. He took out the shoe box and looked at it gently for a while. His mouth unconsciously outlined an obvious curve. A gift from Yenjika. A gift from Yenjika. After a moment of smirk, he looked for the receipt. He was afraid that the girl had spent too much money. However, there was nothing extra in the paper bag or the shoe box. Obviously, Yenjika had taken it away carefully. But it's not a problem for me. Lu Qing smiled and turned on the computer. He searched for the brand and series and found the official website and the relevant page. So expensive. Even with the discount, it should be at least 700 or 800 yuan. He looked at the screen and said to himself. Martial arts shoes were purely consumable items for professional martial artists. No matter how good the material was, as long as it wasn't some kind of black technology, it would still break down after a few intense battles. Therefore, the price of normal martial arts shoes was on the lower side. 200 to 300 yuan was already considered pretty good. Most martial artists would at most equip themselves with a pair of shoes made of better and more comfortable material for their daily training. That way, they could last for a long time. Lu Qing looked at the pair of martial arts shoes with a little warmth and happiness. He couldn't bear to part with them. Suddenly, a thought came to his mind. I have to give her a gift too. The first gift as a boyfriend. Once the thought came to him, he couldn't stop it anymore. He looked at the screen and fell into deep thought, thinking about what gift to give Yenjika. She doesn't seem to lack anything. I can't ask talker. The first gift has to have my own feelings. As a young man in the internet age, he subconsciously opened the search page and typed in the words, gift for girlfriend. He watched and learned carefully to stimulate his inspiration. At this moment, the sound of a key turning came from outside, and the door was opened. A burst of noisy footsteps approached from afar. Lu Qing withdrew his gaze and looked at the door. He saw Zhao Cheng push the door open and enter. Kai Zongming and Qiu Zhigao each supported Zhang Jingye and followed closely behind. Their faces were as red as cooked crabs, and the smell of alcohol filled their nostrils. You drank a lot. Lu Qing laughed. Zhao Cheng shook his head. It's fine. You don't know, but each of those girls can drink more than the other. If they didn't know how to restrain themselves, would have crawled under the table today. It's not that they're restraining themselves, it's that they're smart. If they really get drunk by drinking with a few guys they're not familiar with, who's going to send them back? In the end, they still have to trouble themselves. Kai Zhongming sneered. Although his face was red, he was not drunk and was quite sober. Lu Qing chuckled. So the model worker was targeted? Isn't that obvious? He is the star of the show today. After Kai Zhongming and Qiu Zhigao helped Zhang Jingye to sit down in his chair, one went to get a foot basin. Fearing that Zhang Jingye could not help but vomit, the other wet a towel and helped him apply it to his face. After a while, Zhang Jingye barely recovered and smiled bitterly. I always thought that my drinking capacity as a Northwest man was enough to deal with 4 little girls. In the end, I'm only a little better than Wu Qian. Your wife is also drunk? Why don't they just send you to the bridal chamber? Lu Qing joked. Qiu Zhigao said helplessly, because we're also a little dizzy from drinking. After teasing and laughing for a while, Zhao Chang suddenly looked at Lu Cheng and asked curiously, Cheng, with your current skills, you're worth 10,000 a month, right? Lu Cheng thought for a while and said, almost. According to the related posts he saw when he was lurking in the Longhu Club forum, the monthly salary of a professional 9th pin fighter was at least 10,000 yuan. Including the prize money from the challenge tournament and various competitions, those who were lucky could earn up to 300,000 to 400,000 yuan a year, and those who were poor could earn up to 100,000 yuan. This was not including the part of the business of martial arts school or the entanglement with the underworld, but it was already so much above the ordinary white-collar workers. Of course, people like Jiang Guosheng and Fang Tong would get a big discount because they were in their master's martial arts club. But correspondingly, the martial arts club would bear the cost of practicing martial arts. After entering the Dan stage and crossing the threshold of professional 9th pin, the income would surge again. However, since this stage covered professional 8th pin to professional 4th pin, there was a big gap between their strength and their income. A professional fighter who had just entered professional 8th pin could get 5 or 600,000 a year, and it was not surprising that a veteran 4th pin fighter could get 6 or 7 million, and this was only the part that was announced. It did not include the various industries they were involved in because of their strength. As for the mighty ones of physical invulnerability, they could not be measured by money. Their annual salary from their own forces was probably pocket money. Even so, this part of the income was at least 10 million. Because of this, the prize money of the Warrior Sage Challenge tournament could effectively exclude the strong. Only the nearby professional 9th pin fighters or those who were in urgent need of money would participate. For children like Lu Cheng who had suffered hardships, every time they thought of this income, their motivation to practice martial arts would be stronger. Hearing the affirmative answer, Zhao Chang could not help but sigh. I always feel that you and I are not in the same world. I can only say, Lu Cheng was puzzled by his pause. Zhao Chang turned back and chuckled. Don't forget your friends when you are rich. Of course, who are we? If you master the skills, succeed in your business and become a big boss in the future, you can't forget us. Lu Qing followed and made a joke. After joking with each other for a while, they sent Zhang Jingye to bed and went to wash their faces and sober up. When Lu Qing walked to the living room, he saw Kai Zhongming standing by the glass door to the balcony, staring outside. Talker, why did you talk so little just now? It's not like you, he said with concern. Kai Zhongming smiled and said, I'm a little sad because of your words. What are you sad about? Lu Cheng was puzzled and laughed. Kai Zhongming sighed and said, I said before that I like martial arts and wanted to try if I could take this path. I mean it. My dad always wants me to go back to our small town and help him take care of his company, but this is not what I want. Wow, you are really rich. Lu Qing said sarcastically, why don't you want it? So many people are looking forward to such a good thing. Kai Zhongming shook his head and laughed. Do you think it's good? If you always work with your parents, you will feel that you are not growing up. And you will definitely not be financially independent. How much you earn is in their eyes and under their control. Although you can ask them for money when you are not enough, don't you feel sullen? If there is a disagreement, you won't have the confidence to argue with them, unless you wait until my dad retires. But he is only in his 40s and is in good health. He can work for another 20 years. Also, when I think about what kind of life I will lead in the next few years or so, I feel scared. I'm scared that I will accept reality and return to our small, run-down city like a pool of stagnant water. So, I have to work hard now and try to find my own path in martial arts. If I can't, I will consider starting my own business in the future. I won't accept reality until I am exhausted. Speaking of this, he looked at Lu Cheng with a bright smile and said, Cheng, I really envy you. You can continue to make me envy you. Lu Cheng was touched by his words and punched Kai Zhongming's shoulder. Come on. Kai Zhongming also punched him back. Godfather. Lu Cheng's expression suddenly became sluggish. He felt that the atmosphere was ruined by talker. He gnashed his teeth and said, Get lost. The next morning, Lu Cheng became more and more focused on cultivation. Combined with the inward vision brought by the Jin Dan, he slowly expanded his senses and comprehended the ice mirror visualization bit by bit. The anxiety of not being able to get started had completely faded away. Later on, he gradually touched the edge of the Thunder Roar Zen. Gizershur looked at him and sighed. I thought you would be obsessed with beauty and relax your requirements for a short time. I didn't expect you to be more diligent. She is my motivation. Lu Cheng answered seriously and sincerely. Gizershur nodded with satisfaction. Then I am relieved. How about this, I will set a small goal for you. What small goal? Lu Cheng asked in surprise. Gizershur laughed. In the competition with Fearless Squad, I don't expect you to win the whole game. But if you and Lin K face Wei Xingtian, the one of professional 8th pin, in your best condition, I want you to take him down by attrition battle. It was not shameful to admit that there was a big gap between himself and the Danchi state. And thinking that he and Lin K would challenge Wei Xingtian again and try to defeat him, Lu Cheng was full of anticipation. Why didn't he dare to think about it? Why didn't he dare to try? Who's afraid of who? He nodded hard and answered his master, okay. In Yimo City Martial Arts Gym, Wei Xingtian was topless, revealing his well-defined muscles. His skin was a little greenish-black, as if cast from stone. Are you okay? He asked the slightly vexed big boy in front of him. Qiu Yang was fair and clean. He looked to be about 17 or 18 years old. He said sullenly, I can't use my left hand. But if we really fight in the next round, I can still fight. Wei Xingtian sighed and said, if I had known, I wouldn't have let you be the vanguard. Once you fight 2 rounds in a row, your fighting style will hurt yourself too easily. You won't fight in the next round against Songqing University Martial Arts Club. Rest well. Old Dong and I can handle it, no problem. Thinking that Songqing University Martial Arts Club only had 2 professional 9th pin fighters, Qiu Yang did not insist and agreed. Okay, Brother Wei, I will be your cheerleader. P.S. 4th update, monthly votes. Don't be afraid of others with red envelopes. Many grains make a tower, many little grains make a mickle. Relying on the power of humanity, half of the friends who subscribed will get 2 monthly votes each. Chapter 127. At noon, Lu Cheng turned on his computer and logged into his mailbox to download the information of Fearless Squad sent by his master. He had just invited all the members of the special martial arts training to a meal to celebrate the victory against Hongluo Martial Arts School yesterday, and also as an apology for abducting the treasure of the martial arts school. Because most of them were guys with amazing appetites, even if the cafeteria's single pot of stir-fry, they still ate more than 600 yuan, not including the wine he gave to Gizershur. After the meal, Sun Jian, Li Mao and the others found him and said that the treat was just a joke and that the main purpose was to split the meal. They wanted to give him more money. After all, they were all students without a stable source of income and lived on the money given by their families. It was really not good to eat half a month's worth of food expenses in one meal. Lu Qing had the prize money of the Warrior Sage Challenge Tournament and New Year's money, and also the living expenses that his mother specially increased to 2,000 yuan. He appreciated their kindness and said that since he had promised, he should really do it. Li Mao and Sun Jian also searched for this junior brother's information and knew that he earned a lot from the challenge tournament during the winter vacation. Seeing that he insisted, they didn't force him. After such a meal, Lu Qing was completely familiar with the senior brothers and sisters of the senior grade. Under their teasing, Yan Zhika gradually became thick-skinned and no longer shy and timid, and could proudly respond to their teasing. This allowed Lu Qing to be close to her from time to time and didn't have to worry about her being afraid of other people's eyes. When the parties involved feel nothing about something, the onlookers will lose the fun of teasing. Recalling Yan Zhika's arrogance just now, Lu Qing wore a fascinated smile. After the download of the information, he first opened Wei Xingtian's introduction. Wei Xingtian, 25 years old, broke through to Danqi State a year ago and is classified as professional 8th pin. Majored in bright stone skill, good at giant spirit pounding skill. Bright stone skill, a hard body skill. Starting from meditation, continuous spiritual visualization, external attacks, and medicinal soup and ointment are practiced. Not as good as Golden Bell Shield, Immortal Flesh, Cold Jade tactics and other top physical skills and supernatural ability of metallized part of the body, but not to be underestimated. It is much better than Iron Shirt without visualization. The body is as hard as stone and can effectively reduce the damage of sharp weapons and resist the hit of sticks and so on. At this point, Lu Qing nodded thoughtfully. In this case, the bright stone skill was equivalent to the divine skill of the police academy, the Golden Jade body. After quickly browsing through the introduction, he clicked on Wei Xingtian's most recent performance video. He saw this dance stage expert violently hammering and smashing a piece of bluestone. Moreover, when he was facing a sneak attack with his eyes covered, he was able to react immediately and accurately counterattack as soon as his opponent made a move. The strength of the whole body is as one, just like the Big Dan of the human body, with absolute reaction. Lu Qing murmured to himself, gaining a clearer understanding of this. When one reached the deep level of the Danqi state, Kung Fu would not only enter one's bones and internal organs, but also every tiny part of one's body. One would have perfect control over one's skin and pores, making one's body a whole. One's senses would be so sharp that it was inhuman. One would be able to do all kinds of seemingly inconceivable things such as, not even a feather is added, not even a fly is left behind. Wei Xingtian had just entered the Dan stage, so obviously he had not reached this level yet. However, he could still see something from it. At his level, because of the transformation of the body from the outside to the inside, his own strength had become quite terrifying. Moreover, he could really go all out with every punch and kick. Unlike Lu Qing and Lin Ke, who could control the body and twist the power of the whole body with the use of the waist and back as the axis, but the power that was actually used and sent out definitely could not reach 99%. Being able to use 60% or 70% of the whole body was already considered outstanding in the body refining state. Even so, it was still thanks to Lu Cheng's success in meditation and skillful skills. Lin Ke was close to the Dan stage, so it was very difficult for others to do the same. Wei Xingtian belongs to the strength type, unlike Jiang Lan, who I saw in the Warrior Sage Challenge Tournament, who is more skillful and flexible. Just thinking about the power contained in one punch is frightening. Lu Qing watched the battle video instead and grimaced. The only good thing was that his body was far from the profound level of Gang Qi condensation and subtle changes. He was still a human. If he used all his strength in every attack, he would not be able to bear it for long. After 3 or 4 consecutive attacks, there would definitely be problems and an overload situation. Therefore, unless it was a critical moment, he would not bear to fight like this. Normally, he would mix in ordinary attacks with occasional outbursts. And his ordinary attacks were almost as powerful as Jiang Guoxing's 7th or 8th outburst, which was the kind that Lu Qing could only block with all his strength. Master lied to me. Just relying on me and Lin K to take turns to fight him, the hope of taking him down is not big. This is not a small goal. Shaking his head in grief and indignation, Lu Cheng looked at the information of the two professional ninth pin fighters, Dong Yi and Xiao Yang. The former had the family heirloom, Rolling Thunder Palm, while the latter had the nickname Mad Dog. His own master had specially commented that his fighting style was somewhat similar to the unique skills of the Death Sect. After roughly browsing through, Lu Cheng sent a scared to tears emoji to Yen Jika. Have you seen the information? Dan's stage is so scary. The newbie is trembling in fear. Yen Jika replied with a laughing emoji. Come, cry for me. Is there a reward for crying? Lu Cheng asked shamelessly. Yes, there is. The reward is a slap, Yen Jika joked and put on an emoji with her hands crossed under her chin. Let me tell you a piece of good news and a piece of bad news. What's the good news? Lu Cheng asked curiously. Yen Jika snickered and said, it is said that Xiao Yang of Fearless Squad was injured in the last preliminaries. He was injured? Why is it not in the information provided by Coach Shi? Lu Cheng asked in surprise. Yen Jika used an emoji of spreading out her hands and shaking her head. Maybe Coach Shi doesn't like them and is too lazy to take the initiative to collect information. I just found their last match and found this out. Quickly say that Coach Yen is awesome. Coach Yen is awesome. Lu Cheng immediately replied and then asked thoughtfully, what's the bad news? Only one professional ninth pin left? His injury may not be serious. It's hard to say if he won't fight against us. Yen Jika replied with a laughing and crying emoji. Anyway, you don't need to care about this. If you can win 1 or 2 rounds of professional ninth pin battle, it won't be considered a failure. After all, the other side has a Dan stage master. Lu Cheng replied with an I'm scared emoji, but Coach Shi set a small goal for me. What small goal? Yen Jika asked with a bright and spirited emoji. He said that if your cousin and I face Wei Xingtian in our best condition, we will strive to take him down by attrition battle. Lu Cheng replied with a crying and clenching fist emoji. That's really a small goal. Yen Jika stared blankly and then said with a smirk, although the hope is not big, it's not completely impossible. Cheng, I have faith in you, I'll work hard. Lu Cheng replied with a determined emoji. Anyway, no one will find it strange if I lose, but he will lose face if he loses. Who's afraid of who? In the next few days, he practiced very hard. But whether it was Ice Mirror or Thunder War Zen, they were not martial arts that could be mastered overnight. They were not things that could be mastered by exploding the seed. It could only be said that the former still needed time, while the latter was getting better and better. As for the time with Yen Jika, because they were both busy with martial arts training and their own courses, they could not spend much time alone together. But they could often make eye contact, chat on the phone, have lunch and dinner together, hold hands, and occasionally take a stroll. He felt very satisfied and happy. Days passed, and in the blink of an eye, it was Friday afternoon. Lu Cheng sat in the lecture hall, waiting for a politics-related public class to begin. This kind of public class did not involve professional content, and at the end of the term, it was usually open book, and the difficulty was not high. Most people could easily pass it, and it would not affect their job search in the future, so truants were everywhere. Lu Cheng had planned to come with Kai Zongming, but after a week of hard work, he wanted to relax, so he shouted that a college life without truancy is not a complete college life, and chose to stay in the dormitory. To be honest, if Yen Jika's class was not a professional class, in a small classroom with only 30 or 40 people, and it was not easy to sneak in, he would have skipped class to accompany his girlfriend. Since he could not accompany his girlfriend, what was the difference between doing homework in the dormitory and doing homework in class? The latter was easier to concentrate. Just as he was thinking about this, he suddenly saw Zhao Chang coming in with a shoulder bag, so he waved his hand and greeted him, asking him to come and sit down. Chang, why are you in this class? Lu Qing asked in surprise. For a learning maniac like him, such classes were called self-study classes, and he would go to the library when he was supposed to. Zhao Cheng put down his bag and laughed. Isn't it the same everywhere? You don't have to worry about the roll call if you study here. That's true. Lu Qing laid out his homework, intending to work hard and save time. But it was a large-scale public class with more than 200 people in 5 classes, and it was doubtful whether there were even 100 people in the class. I guess it's time for the roll call. Zhao Cheng looked around with a deep sense of anxiety. Lu Qing also looked around and nodded. There are so few people, the professor will be angry. It can't be helped. Since there are so many people, it's not a big deal if I'm not there. Besides, there are other students who can help, so they don't come. Besides, today is Friday. Zhao Cheng was not surprised. He took out his phone, intending to call his roommates and ask them to study by themselves. Lu Qing also unlocked his phone and was about to call Little Ming. At this moment, Professor Yu, who was in charge of this class, walked into the classroom and took a deep look at the empty seats on the stairs. When the bell rang, he immediately turned around, closed the front door, and ordered his classmates to lock the back door. Then, under the gaze of pairs of blank eyes, he took out a stack of test papers from his briefcase and said loudly, "Today is a small test in class, an open book test. The score will account for 20% of the final score. The questions are very simple. As long as you do it, you can get 20 points. In other words, those who did not do this set of questions would lose 20 points at the end of the term." Damn, you can do this. Lu Qing and Zhao Cheng looked at each other, feeling a little lucky. They then observed a minute of silence for Talker and the others. After sending the message and fulfilling their responsibilities, they received the test papers. As expected, the questions were very simple. Professor Yu has been planning this for a long time. Lu Qing exclaimed. Zhao Cheng nodded. And he didn't show any signs of it before. No wonder we heard that he was one of the famous detectives. We didn't believe it. As he spoke, he said with nostalgia, Professor Zhang, who taught calculus in the previous semester, was better. He never took attendance, and he was very upright. What do you mean? Lu Qing asked curiously. Didn't Tang Wen fail calculus? Thinking that the makeup exam was coming up, he went to the old campus last weekend and called Professor Zhang to give him some gifts so that he would miss the questions. Zhao Cheng gossiped. Professor Zhang didn't accept it? Lu Qing suddenly realized. Zhao Cheng laughed. Not only did he not accept it, he even made Tang Wen wait for him in the old teaching building and lectured him on the main points of calculus for the whole afternoon. He was so dizzy that he just wanted to cry. Professor Zhang is pretty good. Lu Qing sighed. It's not easy to find such a teacher. As they spoke, he shared the test as roll call incident with Yan Zhika. Yan Zhika replied quickly, our professor is even more perverted. There are 2 sections in one class and he takes attendance 5 times. But he's not as ruthless as your professor who takes 20 points in one go. After chatting for a while, he put down his phone and started to do the questions. Because he didn't listen to the lecture, his speed of finding the answers was very slow. Beside him, Zhao Cheng was writing at lightning speed. Lu Qing was surprised and couldn't help but ask, Cheng, have you seriously read the book? The book for this class? Zhao Cheng nodded seriously. I'm a real fan. On Saturday afternoon, the group from Songqing University Martial Arts Club arrived at Yimo's train station. While they were on the way, Geezer sure told them to take an afternoon nap to recover their energy so that they wouldn't be absent-minded in the afternoon. Lu Qing helped Yan Zhika carry her luggage and walked out of the train station side by side. They saw the slightly gray sky and smelled the faint smell of coal smoke in the air. Yimo was an old industrial city, famous for its combination of coal and steel. The pollution index was on the high side. There were rich mineral resources here and the people were tough. Chapter 128. The sky was foggy and the sun was cold. Led by Shi, the Songqing University Martial Arts Club members walked towards a minibus parked at the roadside. Lu Qing carried his own luggage on his back and Yan Jika's small suitcase on his left hand. His right hand was intertwined with the girl's fingers, warming her delicate palm. They were at the back of the group, whispering sweet nothings as they discussed today's fighting strategy. The minibus driver opened the door of the driver's seat and greeted them enthusiastically. "You're from Songqing University Martial Arts Club, right? You're Coach Shi, right? I'm little Chui, the one who called you just now. I'm in charge of sending you to the venue." Shi pulled up the call log and showed it to him. After confirming his identity, he chuckled and said, "Yimo's organization is pretty good. I thought I'd have to take a taxi myself." This was also the question and surprise of Lu Qing and the others. They didn't expect that there would be a person specially assigned to pick them up at the station. The driver said with a smile, "Coach Shi, you're too kind. This is a grand occasion for Yimo's martial arts world. It's not easy to see the hope of winning a division in the preliminaries. Everyone is very enthusiastic and the government has specially sent people to coordinate and organize this." That's true. Yimo's martial arts atmosphere is very strong. If we're talking about overall strength, there's hope for the top 8 in the final stage of the preliminaries. It's just that, TSK, there are a lot of martial arts schools and many families. No one is willing to submit to another, so they can only compete on their own. Shi had some understanding of Yimo. The driver nodded vigorously and said, "Coach Shi, you're right. If it weren't for Invincible Way coming forward to organize and challenge each and every one of those seniors, Yimo would still be in a state of disunity. Sigh, even so, Fearless Squad has gathered at most 50 to 60% of the talents. If the entire martial arts world were to work together, there would be at least 2 Dan stage fighters and 5 to 6 professional 9th pin fighters." Invincible Way? Sun Jian, who was beside Shi, asked curiously. The driver chuckled and said, "In our local area, Wei Xingtian's reputation has always been resounding. This time, he won all the challenges and could be considered invincible in Yimo. Hence, everyone gave him the nickname, Invincible Way." My apologies. Alright, everyone, quickly get in the car. It's quite cold outside. Invincible Way. Hearing this nickname, Lu Qing felt a surge of emotion and yearning for it. Yang had 3 districts and 7 counties under its jurisdiction, with a total population of more than 5 million people. Furthermore, the people there were tough and valiant. There were many martial arts schools and many inheritances. To be able to defeat all the local martial artists without defeat, and to be called invincible among the 5 million people, just thinking about it made one feel a sense of pride and heroism. And I have a small goal. I want to team up with Lin K and defeat this Invincible Way. It feels similar to Shushan. There should be a secret government organization. Yan Jika whispered in Lu Cheng's ear and walked along the aisle to the back row. Lu Cheng felt the girl's breath brushing past his ear, tickling his heart. So he moved closer and whispered, "Coach Yan is right. However, the martial arts ethos of Shushan is not as good as that of Yimo, and the strength of our martial artists is also far inferior. Our attitude towards the government is more respectful and obedient." As she breathed in and out, he saw Yenjika's small and lovely ears slowly turn red, revealing a little bit of crystal and translucent, which was very beautiful. "Don't come so close." Yenjika lightly hit him and moved to the window seat. Lu Qing secretly snickered and unceremoniously occupied the seat next to the girl, ignoring Guo Qing's sad eyes. For this expedition to Yimo, only the main force and substitutes who participated in the preliminaries came. Among the other special training members, only Li Xiaowen, who was in charge of logistics, followed. As for Kai Zhongming and the others, because the school did not reimburse their transportation expenses, and because there was no hope of winning this battle, they were too lazy to travel back and forth and stayed in the school. After sitting down, Yenjika suddenly laughed in a low voice and looked up at Shi in front of her. She lowered her head and said in a voice as soft as a mosquito, "Speaking of which, I still don't know what Coach Shi's full name is. I've been calling him Coach Shi. Huh? Lu Qing listened and took a deep breath. It's true. As a prodisciple, it has been half a year and I still don't know my master's full name. Isn't that too careless? He seriously repented and decided to help his master get the ticket on the way back and peek at his ID card. This kind of thing was not good to ask directly. If his master replied with, "You still don't know," then he would have to find a hole to hide in. At this moment, the minibus started moving. The driver laughed and said, "Actually, there's another reason why I came to pick you up today. If you go by yourself, you probably won't be able to enter the stadium. You might even encounter danger." Won't be able to enter the stadium? Might encounter danger? Lu Qing and the others looked at each other in confusion. Only Geezer Shi did not find it strange. He took out a small wine bottle and drank happily. "Why can't we enter?" Guo Qing asked loudly. The driver laughed and said, "You'll know in a while." This wait lasted for 20 minutes. When the minibus arrived at the entrance of Yimo City's martial arts arena, Lu Qing saw a crowd of people. Some of them were holding small trumpets and were happily blowing into them. The humming sound echoed in the surroundings. Some of them were knocking on the nearby iron railings and other objects, making rhythmic thumping sounds. They all looked like they had too much energy. At a glance, there were at least a few thousand people. When there were more than 10,000 people, there was no end in sight. In the open space outside the martial arts stadium, the thousands of people gave the Songqing University Martial Arts Club students a similar feeling. They all subconsciously held their breaths. When the crowd waiting to enter saw the minibus driving to the side door, they understood that the Songqing University Martial Arts Club had arrived. With a whoosh, countless spectators rushed over and surrounded the minibus, leaving only a narrow passage, making the minibus move as slowly as a crawling snail. One face after another moved closer to the window, opened their mouths, and shouted loudly, "My lord, go back! Go back! Go back, Songqing's leeches! Go back, hairless brats!" The sound penetrated the window, deafening. Mouths opened and closed, revealing red tongues and white teeth. Sun Jian, Li Mao, and the others who had not seen much of the world were intimidated. Under this sudden change, they felt like they were in the end of the world, relying on the fragile minibus to resist the countless zombies. They felt like their small boat would be overturned by the wind and waves at any time, causing them to be swallowed miserably. "Idiot, do you believe that I won't beat you up? Go back with your ass between your legs." More and more people gathered. Curses and shouts rose and fell one after another. Some of them were in high spirits, while others were venting the various emotions that they had been suppressing. Their faces had become distorted, and it was enough to scare a child to tears. The silence in the minibus, including Lu Qing, was a little scared. This was a scene they had never experienced before. They felt that the crowd outside would turn into zombies at any time. Suddenly, someone rushed to the side of the slowly moving minibus, and reached out his hands to fiercely slap the glass next to Yan Jika's face. Clap, clap, clap. The sound of glass rattling scared Yan Jika so much that she shrank back and woke up. She let out a low cry. Seeing this, Lu Qing forgot his fear and stood up abruptly. He squeezed himself to the window, blocking the view and protecting the girl. He bravely and firmly stared at the person who was banging on the window, ready to take action at any time. Facing his cold eyes, the man who was slapping the window was stunned. He did not know why he lost part of his courage, so he put up two thumbs and made a gesture of contempt. Lu Qing guarded by the window, unmoved. His left hand reached back and held Yan Jika's soft hand, feeling the girl's heartbeat gradually calming down. After a long time, the minibus finally drove to the side door. The security personnel arrived and separated the crowd, escorting the Songqing University Martial Arts Club members to get off the bus and directly into the locker room. Only then did Li Mao and the others recover. They said with lingering fear, "It's just a preliminaries, is there a need to go to this extent? Compared to Yimo, the atmosphere of Hongluo Martial Arts School's home ground was simply like a kindergarten child playing house. The minibus driver who accompanied them to the locker room smiled and said, "Didn't I say earlier? This is a grand occasion for our Yimo martial arts world." Lu Cheng and Yan Zhika looked at each other, feeling a little sweet and a little emotional. Different away games really had different styles. The martial arts fans of Yimo City who were unable to buy tickets turned on the TV on time to watch the live broadcast. The host said with a face full of smiles, "Thank you to the reporter in front for sending back the footage. My blood was boiling just now. The martial arts atmosphere of our Yimo City is really good. Everyone is also full of enthusiasm for this preliminaries. Alright, we've invited a heavyweight guest commentator. He will complete the live broadcast with us on TV and online. He's the famous martial arts commentator, He Xiaowei. He Xiaowei was chubby like the Maitreya Buddha. He had a thick beard on his chin, but he didn't look fierce. Instead, he revealed a bit of cuteness. Hello everyone watching the live broadcast. I'm your old friend, He Xiaowei. He first bowed, then walked to the host and sat down. Xiaowei, what do you think of today's competition? The host asked with a smile. For this preliminaries, Yimo City had mobilized enough resources and even invited a well-known commentator in the country. He Xiaowei chuckled, what can I think? This is bullying, this is bullying. I don't know if Qiu Yang can fight in the end. If he can, then there's a 200% chance of bullying. Even if he can't, with just Wei Xingtian and Dong Yi, it's like pinching a snail with 3 fingers. It's a 90% certainty. There's absolutely no way to turn the tables in this kind of competition. I don't believe that Songqing University Martial Arts Club can turn the tables. As time passed, it was almost 2:30 p.m. The referee walked up to the arena, and the audience had all entered, occupying rows of seats. There were at least 10,000 people, and it was a sea of people. Seeing the referee enter the arena, the audience at one side of the stands immediately shouted in an organized manner, Yimo. The other stands immediately responded and shouted in unison, Invincible Wei. Yimo, Invincible Wei. In the away team's locker room, Lu Cheng and the others were startled by the enthusiastic shouts and woke up from their meditation. In the home team's locker room, Dong Yi was wrapping a white bandage around his wrist while lamenting to Wei Xingtian, I'm so envious. Old Dong, as long as you work hard to advance to the Dan stage, you'll also have such a day. Wei Xingtian half closed his eyes, enjoying the tsunami of cheers for him. Dong Yi shook his head and smiled bitterly, with you in front, how can it be my turn? At this point, he paused for a moment and sighed. However, sooner or later, you'll jump out of this small circle of Yimo. Wei Xingtian didn't answer. He took a deep breath and said, today, I'll be the vanguard and not give them any illusions. Did you hear that? Are you envious? Are you afraid? Gizershur looked around and said calmly. Sun Jian couldn't help but sigh, such an atmosphere can kill. It's a pity that your strength is not enough. Otherwise, you can defeat their fighters in such an atmosphere. Beat them to silence, beat them to silence, beat them to silence, beat them to silence, beat them to a pulp, beat them to silence, and beat them to a pulp. That would be cool. Gizershur laughed and said, hurry up and improve. I'm waiting for this day. These words made Lu Cheng and the others' blood boil. Just imagining such a scene made them tremble and full of desire. At this time, Gizershur looked at Lin Kei and smiled, we're a weak team. From the beginning, we have to do our best to win 1 or 2 rounds to look good. You're the main player, so you go first. You may encounter Wei Xingtian directly. When he's in his best condition, are you afraid? Lin Kei suddenly raised his head and looked straight into Gizershur's eyes. His hands unconsciously clenched, no. Chapter 129. Gizershur and Lin Kei looked at each other for a few seconds and suddenly laughed. Good. It's good that you're not afraid. A newborn calf shouldn't be afraid of a tiger. Then he looked at Lu Cheng and clenched his fist, which was rare for him. You're the second one. Lin K is the hammer to open up the situation. You're the chisel to follow closely behind. Even if it's an iron wall, you have to make a hole for me. Lu Cheng was young and vigorous. His blood boiled and he said without hesitation, "Good." Geezer nodded with satisfaction and clapped his hands. As long as you can make a hole, dampen their spirit and suppress their shouts, I'll take it as our victory today. Next time, we'll come back and break through this place fair and square. Sun Jian, you have to prepare carefully. You'll definitely have a chance to fight today. Do your best. Yes, coach. Sun Jian was a little nervous and excited. It was both scary and exciting to fight in such an atmosphere. After encouraging the morale and arranging the order, Geezer glanced at his watch and said, "There are still 10 minutes left. Don't rush out. Do a warm-up in the locker room. Stretch your muscles and get familiar with the feeling. As for the fighting style, I've already explained it in the morning training, so I won't repeat it." After practicing Thunder Roar Zen for more than a week, he gradually grasped the threshold of the skill. If he wanted to use the vibration force, he had to have an explosion process when he hit his opponent. It was just like the explosion of a bomb after it hit the enemy. Thus, it would create a shock wave that would spread from one point to the other and create a vibration. In order to achieve this, the force had to be withdrawn and compressed in advance, and it had to be maintained until hitting the enemy. It couldn't be used as an explosive force or a driving force for punches. This was a big test for the control of the body, the control of the muscles and the skin. And the training with Yen Jika gave him some insight on how to withdraw and control. He was eager to master the two. Time passed. Lu Cheng pulled his sleeves, the airflow was slow, and his mind was clear. He withdrew his arms and stood straight again, exhaling a mouthful of turbid air. As soon as he finished withdrawing, Geezer coughed and said, "Okay, get ready to go out." The others quickly finished and followed Geezer out of the locker room, stepping into the tiger's den. As soon as they saw them, the tens of thousands of spectators outside cheered in unison. The sound was deafening, making people feel short of breath. Get lost. Crawl back. Geezer walked forward leisurely in the face of the shouting, which was mixed with all kinds of profanities. He clicked his tongue and said to Lu Cheng and the others, "Did you hear that? If you can beat them into silence for a while, then you won't have come here in vain." Strangely enough, despite the loud noise, his low chuckle still clearly entered the ears of every participant. Infected by his carefree attitude, Lu Cheng secretly clenched his fists. His anticipation for the next match overcame his fear. He reached out his left hand and held Yen Jika's right palm, comforting her unconsciously accelerating heartbeat with his own calmness. Yen Jika was stunned at first, then turned to look at him. Her eyes were smiling, and her dimples were faintly visible. Then she raised her head, like a proud princess, and walked forward hand in hand with him. When they arrived at the guest team seats, Li Xiaowen, who was in charge of handing the name list to the competition supervisor, had been waiting for them. She said quickly, "Qiu Yang didn't go. Tan Ming of amateur first pin replaced him. Wei Xingtian is the vanguard, and Dong Yi is the second." The slightly messy words made Lu Cheng and the others stunned. They all looked at Lin Quebec. It was really a narrow road. Lin K looked sideways at the ring and slowly pulled off the clothes draped over his martial arts suit. The referee glanced at the electronic clock, gathered the strength in his dantian, and said in a voice that suppressed the shouts of the audience, "The second round of the preliminaries of Songqing Division, Fearless Squad vs Songqing University Martial Arts Club. The first round, Wei Xingtian vs Lin K." As soon as his voice fell, the audience burst into shouts several times louder than before, "Yimo." After a short pause, they roared again, "Invincible Wei. Invincible Wei of Yimo." Lin K was still expressionless. He took off his coat and put it on the seat. Facing the shouts that filled the martial arts arena, he walked step by step to the side of the ring. He walked along the stone steps and stepped onto the ring. Under the cheers of the audience, Wei Xingtian also stood up from his seat. He was like a half-iron tower, and arrived at the ring in a few strides. When the two sides stood, the referee counted the time silently and said, "The 3-minute dialogue starts." The audience burst into curses, cursing Lin Kei's 18 generations of ancestors and female relatives. Yenjika's face turned red, and she was so angry that her breathing was uneven. Lu Qing held her soft hand and felt the physical changes caused by her intense emotions. He gently shook her hand and said, "Don't be angry. Just take it as a group of mad dogs barking." How could he not hate them? He secretly made up his mind to silence the audience, even if it was only for a few seconds. Yenjika pursed her lips and nodded. "I know they want to disturb my cousin's state of mind. It's an arena competition, and they will do anything. But I'm still angry. I've never been scolded like this in my life." As she spoke, she pouted her mouth. "I'll try to complete the small goal," Lu Qing said seriously. "Ah." Yenjika immediately shook her head like a rattledrum. "I'm not angry anymore. You have to maintain your state of mind. You can't be affected, understand?" "Got it, Coach Yen." Lu Qing chuckled. Yenjika snorted and looked at him with a smile, forgetting about the background noise. After this incident, she also forgot the nervousness and fear at the beginning. On the ring, Wei Xingtian looked at Lin Kei, who was adjusting his body's state, and smiled slightly. "Your qi and blood are vigorous to the extreme. You're only one step away from Dan's stage. Unfortunately, there's still one step. I know your idea is to win 1 or 2 rounds and leave Yimo with dignity. But I won't let you do as you wish. I'll personally dispel your delusions." As he spoke, he shook his head, as if he was stretching his muscles and bones, but also as if he was showing contempt. Lin Kei listened quietly and suddenly opened his mouth. "The more you talk, the more you show the fear in your heart." "I'm afraid? Why would I be afraid of you, a professional 9th pin guy? Tell me, why?" "Why?" Wei Xingtian felt funny and angry at the same time and snorted disdainfully. However, Lin Kei didn't respond anymore. He was like a Buddha carved out of stone. No matter how he was provoked, he didn't have any emotional fluctuations. After 2 minutes of ridicule, Wei Xingtian suddenly stopped because he found himself a little impatient. The other party had clearly only said one sentence, and it had actually caused him to become impatient. He had a good grasp of people's hearts. Retracting his state of mind and adjusting his breathing, Wei Xingtian regained his state of mind. At this moment, the referee raised his right hand and shouted, "Begin." Wei Xingtian's eyes flashed. His back arched like a bow and suddenly bounced. His whole body's muscles expanded as if he was taller. He shot towards Lin Kei with his right hand raised and clenched into a fist. It was as if he was holding a giant hammer and was about to swing it down fiercely. In the face of Wei Xingtian, who was rushing towards him like a giant spirit statue, Lin Kei didn't block and suddenly retreated. Normally, a normal martial artist wouldn't dodge like this because they couldn't see the road behind them and couldn't maintain their center of gravity. It was equivalent to putting themselves in a very disadvantageous position. But Lin Kei was like a dexterous mountain goat. His footwork was light, his rhythm was orderly, and his body was stable. More importantly, his retreat was to advance. Taking 3 steps back, Lin Kei forced Wei Xingtian to take 3 steps back. When his momentum started to decline, Lin Kei suddenly stopped, as if he was nailed to the ground. He exerted force on his feet, twisted his waist, and punched out a mountain blast punch with his right hand. Wei Xingtian estimated his strength. His right fist that was in the shape of a giant hammer still smashed down fiercely. Mountain blast punch. Bang! When the two collided, Lin Kei's spine suddenly squirmed like a dragon turning over. His right arm was like a spring, taking advantage of the momentum to pull back. When one side of the lever was pressed, the other side would be raised. His temples swelled, his back twisted, his left hand formed a fist and hit out as fast as a meteor. It was too late to dodge. Wei Xingtian lowered his shoulders and crossed his left arm to block the punch. Bang! Wei Xingtian felt like he was hit by a bomb. He felt that every joint, every inch of skin, and every muscle in his body was in shock. He couldn't exert strength for a short time. Yin-yang twist, meteor force. Lin Ke was afraid that he couldn't shake Wei Xingtian with his own strength, so he deliberately took the risk of using yin-yang twist to borrow part of his opponent's strength. Wei Xingtian had seen Lin Ke's previous competition video. But because he killed an amateur first pin in seconds last time, he couldn't see anything and fell for it. Seeing that he was stiff, Lin Ke took advantage of the situation. His thighs tightened, and with a snap, he pulled out his right leg and hit between Wei Xingtian's legs. Seeing this, the cursing in the arena became more intense. At the critical moment, Wei Xingtian's body suddenly shrank. His spirit, qi, blood, momentum, and strength seemed to condense into a big Dan, round and flawless, and stop the shock. After a moment, his strength broke out, gushing from a point in his body. Driving his right leg, he kicked out and blocked Lin Ke's whip kick. Bang! When the two legs collided, Lin Ke immediately felt a majestic force. He could no longer maintain his center of gravity, and following the force, he stumbled to the side and back. Under such an explosion, Wei Xingtian didn't break the ground and burst open his martial arts shoes. It was enough to show that his control of his body had reached a terrifying level. After a successful move, he showed no mercy. He stepped on the ground and jumped out. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of Lin Quebec. His muscles bulged, and his whole body was like a giant hammer, to give his opponent a fierce crash. Close punch. Lin Ke had just stabilized his center of gravity when he was faced with such a blow. He was really in danger, and it seemed that he couldn't avoid it. Yan Jika couldn't help but hold her breath. At this moment, in Lin Ke's mind, he visualized a meteor cutting through the sky and hitting the ground. His body muscles tightened, and the force exploded in his body, pushing him 2 steps sideways. Wei Xingtian hit nothing, and could only explode the airflow. Meteor force can be used not only in attack. After narrowly avoiding Wei Xingtian's close punch, Lin Ke didn't turn around. He put his feet together, straightened his right arm, and whipped to the side, hitting the back of Wei Xingtian's head. Snap! Under such a strong whip, not to mention stone force, even real stones would be smashed. The audience unconsciously clenched their fists. Chapter 130. Lin Ke moved sideways and Wei Xingtian missed. Both of them were on the same horizontal line, but one was facing south while the other was facing north. They could only see each other from the corner of their eyes. Lin Ke's right arm's single whip was natural and casual, as if it was at his fingertips. It had the charm of softness and toughness. It hit the back of Wei Xingtian's head without any mistake. The audience watching Yimo subconsciously clenched their fists and showed concern. Although they were full of confidence in Wei Wuди and continued to shout, in the face of such an attack, the human body instinctively had the corresponding feeling. Although they didn't say it, their hearts were very honest. Wei Xingtian, who was stuck in the air, seemed to have eyes at the back of his head. He had an absolute reaction and took a deep breath. His skin that was a little dark blue suddenly swelled and then contracted. Then, he wriggled his spine and instantly overcame the inertia. He strode forward and flashed out of the attack range. Dong! He had just avoided the whip and immediately stepped with his right foot, which seemed to shake the ring. He turned around, twisted his waist and kicked out. Unlike the normal whip kick, Wei Xingtian used his left leg as a giant hammer. He was holding it, swinging his arm and sweeping away thousands of troops. It was fierce and overbearing, almost like a knife on horseback. The air burst with a series of explosions, which made Lin Ke's hair stand on end. However, he didn't choose to dodge. Instead, he lowered his waist and put on a posture. His left hand clenched into a fist and blocked the sweeping hammer. Bang! His leg hit the left arm. Lin Kei's body bounced and shook. He was about to be hit, but his left hand that was clenched into a fist suddenly loosened. His whole arm became soft and he swung it back to dissolve part of the force. He pushed his body sideways and his right hand grabbed from the bottom to the top. He wanted to break the tendons and bones of Wei Xingtian's left leg. Seeing this situation, Wei Xingtian didn't retract his left leg but met Lin Kei's right palm head-on. At the same time, his waist and back suddenly tightened, and his body leaped up like a wild horse in the air. His right foot kicked forward with explosive power. Rabbit steps on eagle. Lin Kei didn't dare to grab Wei Xingtian's left leg again. He pulled back his right arm to block the kick. As soon as the two came into contact, his arm retracted to neutralize the force. However, his retraction was not straight back, as that would hit his own chest, which was equivalent to giving up resistance. Instead, he drew a small arc, flipped up, and shook, throwing Wei Xingtian out. Good! Wei Xingtian shouted as soon as his feet touched the ground. His kick just now seemed ordinary, but it was actually a killer move. If Lin Kei had directly blocked it, he would have immediately borrowed the force and followed up with another kick with his left foot. It was fast and ruthless, and he did it 7 times in a row. Lin Kei was unable to block it. Before he entered the Danshi state, he once challenged a martial arts club. Due to the poor standard of the referee, a professional 9th pin fighter's sternum was all broken by this move. Although he was saved in time, he was still bedridden for a long time, and only 40 to 50% of his kung fu remained. Lin Kei, on the other hand, countered the attack. His ingenious use of energy made his follow-up attack disappear without a trace. As proud as Wei Xingtian was, he couldn't help but praise him. Seeing this scene, Gizershur nodded gently and smiled to Lu Qing beside him. In terms of borrowing force, you have achieved great success in meditation and good control of your body muscles. You are only inferior to him in the uniqueness of yin-yang twist. But in terms of neutralizing force, you are still too rough. You have been practicing martial arts for too short a time. You don't know much, and you don't know many little tricks. It's hard for you to be like him. This is also the reason why I let him take the lead. If you meet Wei Xingtian in his best condition, you don't know how to neutralize, but only how to borrow. It'll be good if you can block 3 moves. It'll be a waste of your abnormal physical strength. Lu Qing nodded slightly, as if he was thinking. He looked at the ring more and more attentively. On the other side, Yan Zhika heard her cousin being praised by Coach Shi. She was overjoyed and proud. Taking advantage of the good shout, Wei Xingtian took a step forward. His right hand turned into a battering awl and suddenly hit out. Lin Kei's 2 legs were pressed inward. His hands were like a door, pushing and pushing, squeezing and lifting. He forcibly blocked the hammer. Wei Xingtian didn't give him any chance to adjust and recover. His left arm shook, like a spear, and went straight for Lin Kei's throat. Lin Kei tilted his head. His hands that blocked Wei Xingtian's right fist suddenly pushed forward. Taking advantage of the rebound force, he jumped back. Like a mountain goat, he took a few steps back and rearranged his stance. Wei Xingtian exerted strength in his waist and abdomen and took a big step forward to catch up again. Bang bang bang. Bang bang bang. The two kept fighting and separating. Every time Lin Kei couldn't hold on after blocking 1 or 2 hammers, he used the force to dodge. Within 2 or 3 minutes, he took Wei Xingtian to almost every corner of the ring. Gizershur looked and laughed. You have some ideas. What ideas? Not only Lu Qing and Yan Zhika looked at him curiously, but Sun Jian and Li Mao also looked at him in confusion. Gizershur chuckled and said, Lin Kei is at a disadvantage but he doesn't panic. Instead, he is taking this opportunity to temper himself. If you want to advance to the Dan stage from the peak of the body refining stage, first, you have to train your own cultivation to the bone, to the inside of the body, and to the smallest detail. This is something that others can't help you with. Second, you have to master the charm of withdraw and integrate the strength of your whole body into one. Lin K knows how to withdraw, but there is still some distance to truly withdraw. He is using Wei Xingtian's hammers to condense the pure strength of his own body. Under the pressure of external forces, he is forced to withdraw. This is like forging iron. Keep hammering to force out the impurities and refine it into steel. Lu Qing was surprised and happy. So, big, Lin K may have a breakthrough and become a big Dan? Impossible. Geyser bluntly denied his guess, even if he has mastered withdraw. Without a certain time of polishing and understanding, without repeated attempts, there is no way to integrate the strength of his whole body into one and step into the Dan stage. Breaking through is a process, not a node. It can't be done just on the spot. Speaking of this, he snorted, and Wei Xingtian is not blind. After repeated collisions, how can he not hear the change in the opponent's strength? Can't see what Lin K really wants to do? If I were him, I would immediately break out and try to interrupt Lin K to try to end the battle. Master, which side are you on? Lu Qing silently complained. Just as he finished complaining, the situation on the arena developed in the direction Geyser said. When Wei Xingtian approached Lin K again, his essence, qi, spirit, will and the strength of his whole body suddenly contracted, as if condensed to a point, making his body look empty and lose the feeling of a living person. Immediately after, the point suddenly burst out and the strength gushed out, making Wei Xingtian's spine like a bow, instantly recovered from the pull to the limit. Together with the hammer Jin, in his mind, it drove the strength of his feet downward. Suddenly, Wei Xingtian seemed to be shorter by 1 or 2 centimeters. His muscles swelled, his dark blue skin bulged, and his right hand turned into a giant hammer. With the mighty strength of that point and almost all the strength of his body, he hit Lin K at a very fast speed, blocking most of the angles, making it difficult for him to activate the compressed, meteor force, in time to dodge. Giant spirit hammer. Lin K's eyes narrowed dangerously. The avalanche in his mind rolled and poured into his feet, crashing to the ground. The violent force rebounded, passing through his feet, legs and waist, bouncing through his spine and pouring into his left arm. With a bang, he met the hammer with a soaring cannon punch. Bang! When the two collided, Lin K's body trembled as if he had turned into a wooden man. He mechanically retracted his left fist, both transforming and borrowing, guiding the terrifying strength into his own body, mixing it with the essence, qi, spirit and will that had been constantly refined and compressed, condensing into a ball. With a pull of the wooden man, the right half of Lin K's body was pushed forward. All the strength suddenly burst out, driving his right fist to burst out. Yin-yang twist, meteor burst. Wei Xingtian was not surprised or afraid, as if he had expected it. The strength of his right hand strangely retracted, as if his whole body was one. His left arm was already swinging and hitting hard. Mad Demon Hammer. Bang! A dull and violent sound broke out. Lin K and Wei Xingtian maintained the posture of crossing their fists, temporarily pausing. With 2 cracking sounds, Lin K's martial arts shoes were torn apart, leaving only the soles of his feet. Wei Xingtian gasped for breath and laughed, "If you can make one more hit, I will most likely lose." Lin K lowered his head, sweat constantly dripping from his black hair. His eyes looked straight at his feet, neither replying nor moving his body. After Wei Xingtian took the punch head-on, it was as if he had suffered a terrifying explosion. His qi and blood were tumbling, his internal organs were shaking, and his bones and joints were trembling. He was so uncomfortable that he felt dizzy. Not to mention fighting again, he even had the impulse to spit out blood. But he knew that Lin K's state was worse. How could his full-strength, giant spirit hammer be so easy to transform and borrow strength? And in the final collision, the outbreak of Mad Demon Hammer was equally terrifying. The fact that Lin K could still stand straight and not fall surprised him. The referee observed for more than 10 seconds and raised his right hand. The first round, Wei Xingtian wins. As soon as the result was announced, the surrounding stands suddenly boiled up, shouting crazily, "Fearless!" The other side responded enthusiastically, "We will win. Fearless Squad will win." The referee waved to the competition supervisor, pointed at Lin K and said, "He is a little injured, help him down." Immediately after, he looked at Songqing University Martial Arts Club and shouted, "The second contestant, Lu Cheng." In the TV broadcast room, guest commentator He Xiaowei slapped the table and laughed, "Like I said, how can a Danchi State fighter lose against a professional ninth pin? You tell me how to lose?" A few gamblers were watching the live TV broadcast and were considering whether to bet on the final result. "Big brother, this commentator is a famous poison healer with a crow's mouth. Should we bet on him instead?" A young man was worried. His big brother patted his head and said, "Are you stupid? We have to analyze the strength of both sides and the odds when we bet. How can we rely on luck to make a living? Even if he has a crow's mouth, he can't do everything in reverse, right? We have to believe in our own eyes." Yes, 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 Big Brother is right. The other gamblers were convinced. In Lu Cheng's private forum, there was a post called Qualifier Second Round Live Broadcast. At this time, there were a few new replies. "Eternal Nightfall," Yan Shaoling said, "Lu Cheng is going to fight. He is going to fight. But I am so worried, that Danchi State fighter is so fierce." Brahman also said pitifully, "Lu Cheng, please don't get hurt. Losing to a Dan State fighter is not shameful." Unparalleled Dragon King also replied, "Reality is reality, you won't always meet a stronger opponent or a weaker one." Seeing Lin K being helped down, Lu Cheng held Yenjika's hand, took off his coat and stood up. Yenjika wanted to tell him to be careful, but she was afraid that her nervousness and worry would affect his performance. In the end, she turned all her words into a gesture of encouragement and a joking sentence, "Cheng, I have faith in you." The familiar tone made Lu Cheng smile. Courage poured out bit by bit, slowly flowing, urging him to step forward and walk along the road to the arena. On the ring, Wei Xingtian took 2 steps forward, but the tattered martial arts shoes on his feet were left in place. Because they were embedded in the bluestone ground, the surroundings were full of spiderweb-like cracks. This was the reason why he suddenly became 1 or 2 centimeters shorter just now. Wei Xingtian's body was still shaking, and his face was ugly. He raised his chin and looked down at Lu Cheng, who was walking to the arena. Lu Cheng was not afraid, and calmly looked back at him. For eyes met, as if there were sparks in the air. At this time, Wei Xingtian smiled at Lu Cheng and raised his right arm. In the stands, the audience immediately responded with a tsunami of cheers, and the enthusiasm was so surging that the roof was almost lifted off. Yimo. Invincible Wei. Invincible Wei. Chapter 131. Yimo. Invincible Wei. The duet shouts rose and fell one after another, setting off a terrifying storm in the enclosed stadium. They overlapped with the echoes, vibrating Lu Cheng's eardrums and turning into substance, becoming a part of Wei Xingtian's momentum, making him look invincible. In the face of such a deliberate demonstration and provocation, it would be a lie to say that Lu Cheng's state of mind did not change. He was not yet 20 years old and full of vigor. He had not experienced many big scenes, and had only experienced a life-and-death battle once. He could not be compared to Geyser, who was used to seeing all kinds of things. He could not be as calm as still water and not be surprised. He was a little trembling, a little nervous, and some inexplicable anger. All kinds of emotions mixed together with the abuse that affected Yan Zhika just now, fermenting into a strong fighting spirit. Taking a breath, he concealed his spirit and chi and visualized the scene of condensing water into ice. With a calm and composed mind, he commanded the others, pushing his momentum up step by step. When he stepped on the ring, he had automatically filtered out the echoes in the stadium, showing no signs of weakness under Wei Xingtian's pressure. Songqing University, Building 7, Unit 2, Dormitory 302. Kai Zongming put his laptop on the coffee table, gathered Zhao Chang, Qin Mo, and the others, and sat around the living room, watching the live broadcast of Yimo TV station through the internet. After seeing Lu Cheng's straight figure, neither servile nor overbearing, he couldn't help but sigh. Why do I feel that Cheng is more charming than me? Zhao Chang and the others did not answer his slightly narcissistic sigh and stared nervously at the screen. Even though they were hundreds of kilometers away, separated by network signals and radio waves, they could still feel the crazy atmosphere and the horror of the professional eighth pin dance stage. Subconsciously, they were worried for Lu Cheng. Don't get hurt, don't lose too badly. In the live broadcast room, as a professional commentator, He Xiaowei seized the short gap and quickly made the final introduction. As we have said before the competition, Lu Cheng from Songqing University Martial Arts Club has not been practicing martial arts for a long time, so his physical fitness is still lacking. Relying on his strength exertion techniques, mercurial balance, and silent listening skills, he has improved his overall strength to the level of a real professional ninth pin fighter. In short, he is invincible in one move. Now, in the face of a real dance stage expert, his strength exerting skills and his mercurial balance are not as good as his opponents. All his advantages will be offset and all his weaknesses will be exposed. Therefore, even if Wei Xingtian consumed a lot of energy in the previous battle, even if he still has the effect of the last fierce collision, isn't it a sure thing to beat Lu Cheng? I don't believe that he can fail at such a simple task. Tell me how to do it. Alright, let's cut the crap. The second round is about to begin. Let's wait and see. In order to not give Wei Xingtian enough time to recover and to not waste the opportunity created by Lin Ke at the risk of injury, Lu Cheng's speed towards the arena was not slow. After a few strides, he was already facing his opponent across the referee. Without wasting time, without waiting, without stopping, the referee raised his right hand and swung it down. Begin. Of course, Wei Xingtian would not fight a protracted battle with Lu Cheng. While waiting for his opponent to enter the arena, he was adjusting. Enduring the discomfort of his internal organs, bones, and muscles, he turned his spine into a bowstring, pulled and then bounced. Following that, he exerted strength under his feet and crushed 2 black bricks. Using himself as a sharp arrow, he shot out. His speed was beyond Lu Cheng's expectation. He only felt that his opponent was in front of him in the blink of an eye. There was no time to adjust his center of gravity to dodge. Only by experiencing it in person could one truly understand the horror of the dance stage. This was not something that could be accurately grasped just by watching the battle videos and other people's matches. Lu Cheng now suffered a severe loss. As soon as he approached, Wei Xingtian clenched his hands into fists, half retracted his right shoulder and elbow, and hammered down at a short distance. This was completely different from the hammering technique he just displayed. If he was fighting with a long-handled giant hammer before, now he was holding 2 hammers in his hands. Learning from Li Yuanba, he hammered one after another, not caring about the distance, not caring about the moves, only fierceness and speed. As the saying goes, random fists can kill a master. Gigantic spirit hammering technique, double random hammering. Lu Cheng kept calm and took a short breath. In his mind, lightning struck down and hit the dead wood, bringing a prairie fire. The heat flowed down from his tailbone and poured into his legs. He pushed his left foot inward, twisted his waist and put up a fist. Pa, a mountain blast was launched. Bang! The hammer and cannon collided. A majestic force hit, making it difficult for Lu Cheng to stabilize his body. There was a clear gap between the strength of the 2 sides. Wei Xingtian had indeed experienced a fierce battle and was still affected. But Lu Cheng was also in a hurry to respond and only had time to use the lightning and fire stance. Fortunately, Lu Cheng was prepared. As soon as they came into contact, his right foot took a step back and removed part of the force. He guided the remaining force into the soles of his feet. Pa, he stepped on a black brick and let his center of gravity stabilize behind. This was a move of Tai Chi, which was widely used. Lu Cheng first imitated it from Yi Yaoding, and just now he learned it from watching Lin Ke's elimination and attack. At this time, he used it and finally blocked this hammer. But how could Wei Xingtian's double hammer be so simple? As soon as the right hammer stopped, the left hammer rose up. It looked like he was going to beat his opponent with a series of random hammers. Facing this, Lu Qing seemed to only have two choices. One was to use the rebound force of his right foot to jump back, just like Lin Ke just now. He retreated nimbly with his back and resumed his stance. But this battle was different from the previous one. The situation was different. The distance between the two sides was very close. It was enough for Wei Xingtian to use the short hammer to attack fiercely. If Lu Qing jumped back, his speed might not be able to catch up with the momentum of Wei Xingtian's left hammer. There was a certain possibility that he would be hit, which was quite risky. And the second choice was to parry again, and then retreat again. Maintain the current situation and wait for Wei Xingtian to finish his momentum. But Lu Qing knew that there was a gap in strength between him and his opponent. He wasn't as delicate as Lin Quebec. If he just defended, he might not be able to hold on until his opponent took a breath. This was really dangerous on both sides. When fighting with a master, once you fall into a disadvantageous position, it would be extremely difficult to get rid of it again. Lu Qing's heart was as calm as water, as if he was facing a life and death battle. When Wei Xingtian's left hammer was about to hit, he suddenly moved. He used the rebound force of his right foot to straighten his back and lean to the left. He didn't jump back, but instead moved forward. He lowered his shoulder and slammed into Wei Xingtian's chest. No dodging, no parrying, just once. In his mind, the snow mountain collapsed. His body merged with the white stream and rolled toward Wei Xingtian. And because of the forward movement of his body and the left side of his body, which was also the right side of his opponent, he narrowly avoided the left hammer that was smashing down. Only the strong wind hit his face and made him feel pain. And the distance between the two sides was close enough. Lu Qing just got up and was about to hit Wei Xingtian's chest. In a situation full of danger and disadvantage, he actually relied on his fearless courage, the tragedy of a life and death battle, and his calm and accurate judgment to face the difficulties and seize the only opportunity to turn defeat into victory. Because of the strength of Wei Xingtian's hammer, his collision was powerful and violent, as if it could even smash a real stone. The sudden reversal of victory and defeat made the entire audience unable to react in time. They were still cheering loudly as usual, shouting and cursing. At this critical moment, Wei Xingtian didn't panic. He suddenly sat down and the violent momentum and power of the two hammers suddenly retracted to a certain point in his body. The momentum was so fast that it seemed to pull his spirit, willpower, and blood flow to that point. His whole body suddenly lost the feeling of a living person. Lu Qing felt like he had bumped into a phantom the moment he collided with it. He felt a sense of emptiness and softness. After a moment, that point in Wei Xingtian's body exploded. His strength, momentum, and spirit gushed out in an instant, bulging his muscles, propping up his fascia, and turning his blackish skin into a hard stone. Bang! Lu Qing, who had a part of his strength reduced by the initial emptiness, didn't break the bluestone. He only made Wei Xingtian's upper body shake a little. His torso quickly swung back. His arms wrapped around Lu Qing, trying to hold him in his arms. The embrace of the giant bear. Such a hug and squeeze would definitely break the bones of ordinary people and strangle them to death. Even if it was a martial artist, it would be difficult to bear. But at this moment, Lu Qing seemed to have anticipated it. Taking advantage of the rebound from the collision, he shot backward like a bolt of lightning. This was unexpectedly not slower than the forward pounce. Not only did he narrowly avoid the hug, but he also pulled apart the distance between him and Wei Xingtian. After a few nimble steps, he rearranged his stance. He just took the risk to move forward and slammed sideways, all for the sake of retreating now. It was the opposite of Lin Ke's, retreating in order to advance. Lu Qing clearly knew that a dance stage master couldn't be defeated in a few moves. He must restrain his restlessness and not blindly seek to finish the battle in one fell swoop. Wei Xingtian took a breath, strode forward and attacked again. In his heart, his evaluation of Lu Qing was raised a little. An opponent who only knew how to be ruthless wasn't scary. What was scary was not only ruthless, but also not reckless at all. In the seats of the Songqing University Martial Arts Club, Yanjika had long pursed her lips. She was nervous and worried about the changes just now. She didn't expect Lu Qing to fall into such a passive situation at the beginning. She also didn't expect him to attack instead of retreating. Her palms were sweating because of this. When Lu Qing jumped back with the help of the collision, pulled away and recovered the balance, she heaved a long sigh of relief. Her eyes were shining for her boyfriend's judgment, courage, determination and clear-headedness in such a short time. Geyser watched quietly. Suddenly, he clicked his tongue and said, "Not bad." After a short treatment, Lin Ke had recovered his ability to move. But his face was as white as paper, and his left arm was hanging weakly. His eyes were fixed on the field and didn't move for a moment. His right fist unconsciously clenched. In the live broadcast room, He Xiaowei finished this part with some lingering fear. He breathed a sigh of relief and laughed. Contestant Lu Qing from Songqing University is very reckless. If it wasn't for his good luck, Wei Xingtian would have finished the battle by now. Hey, at that distance, even if the referee is powerful, he may not be able to save him. He's bound to break a few bones. But his luck is really good. His reckless attack actually exchanged for an opportunity. Unfortunately, strength is the final deciding factor. He didn't win even like this. It's conceivable that he can't win at all. You guys tell me how to win? When all the audience just recovered from the shock, Wei Xingtian once again closed the distance between him and Lu Qing. He opened his right arm, like a sledgehammer, and smashed hard on the opponent's posture. Chapter 132. Lu Qing knew that he was completely restrained by Wei Xingtian in terms of speed, agility, and mercurial balance. Naturally, he wouldn't drag the battle into his opponent's field of expertise. He planned to learn from Lin Ke just now, to set up a stance, counterattack, and respond flexibly, to take advantage of his perfect condition and abnormal physical strength, and wait for the opportunity to change the balance of victory. Wei Xingtian had just experienced a fierce battle, and was hit hard by him. He had already used his full strength 3 or 4 times. How long could he maintain his current level of strength? Bam! The air exploded. Wei Xingtian's right fist fell and hit Lu Cheng's stance. Lu Cheng's arms trembled and his body swayed. At this moment, Lu Cheng turned his waist and back quickly, borrowing the strength of the punch. His body's joints and bones all exerted strength, opening and flinging. This was the swing force he learned after the battle with Jiang Guosheng. After his own exploration, Geyser Shi's guidance and a few days of trial, he finally mastered it successfully. Today, he wanted to give Wei Xingtian a surprise. Wei Xingtian suddenly felt as if he was hit hard on the side and was about to lose his center of gravity and stumble away. He lowered his center of gravity, his spine squirmed like a dragon, and his feet were like nails, firmly rooted in the ground. His upper body swayed to the side and swung back like a spring. He twisted his waist and threw a punch, quickly and fiercely towards Lu Cheng's lower abdomen. In a flash, he broke the swing force and showed the power of the Dan stage. Of course, this was also because Lu Cheng had just learned it and his body was at a disadvantage. He was already mentally prepared. He visualized the momentum of the brutal blizzard in his mind and borrowed the strength of the rebound. He lowered his center of gravity, pressed his feet, clenched his right hand, and hammered down, accurately hitting Wei Xingtian's crushing punch. Bam! In the dull sound, Lu Cheng's body swayed. He nimbly took a few steps back, imitating Lin Ke, and tried to open up the distance again. He was worried that Wei Xingtian would rush and disrupt his rhythm, but he found that his opponent's body seemed to be stagnant and was temporarily frozen in place. The residual effect of the meteor force? The performance of the decline of the body's condition? Many thoughts flashed through his mind. Lu Cheng's foot suddenly exerted force, bringing the inertia of his body to change, and fiercely pounced forward. Kill him while he's down. Lightning flashed in Lu Cheng's mind. The silver snake struck down, shaking the snowy peaks that had accumulated for thousands of years, creating a white torrent that could devour everything. They flowed into his left arm through the rotation of his waist and the innermost part of his feet. Like a jet of air, he threw a violent punch. Lu Qing saw a faint smile on Wei Xingtian's face. His spirit, spirit, and strength were all gathered into a human body Big Dan, condensing everything together. Wei Xingtian's muscles swelled, turning his martial arts suit into a tight suit. His dark skin tightened like the surface of a stone. His whole person seemed to have turned into a tall and mighty giant statue. Visible cracks appeared on the bricks under his feet. He clenched his right fist and punched out fiercely. The condensed power and momentum found the only way to vent, pushing it forward crazily and exploding the air along the way. Lu Qing narrowed his eyes and realized that he had been deceived by Wei Xingtian. As a master of the Dan stage, he had to play tricks to deal with him. He deliberately pretended that he had consumed a certain amount of energy and his body was in a condition. Although it was despicable, he had to admit that he had a good grasp of his own mentality and knew that he was waiting for this opportunity. In a martial arts fight, there was no despicable, only victory and defeat. The winner was righteous. Since he had already launched his attack, it was impossible for him to stop it at the last minute. That would be even more terrifying. For example, in a situation where leg was leg to leg, if they were to clash head-on, they would at most suffer some bruises and swelling. However, if one of them was not determined enough and decided to withdraw, they would often end up with broken bones. Bang! The two didn't change their moves and collided together. Lu Qing only felt the pain in his fist and the sound of his bones. He didn't dare to resist for fear of breaking his arm. He could only choose to be swept away by the majestic force and thrown to a place not far away. Dong! Just as he fell to the ground, Wei Xingtian had already rushed over, not giving him any chance to adjust and recover. Seeing this, Yan Zhika's clenched fists loosened. Everyone in the Songqing University Martial Arts Club sighed together. The result was about to be revealed. Lu Qing failed and Wei Xingtian won. Two strong professional 9th pin fighters couldn't defeat an 8th pin fighter who had just entered the Dan stage by taking turns. The whole audience immediately burst into cheers, full of cathartic cheers. The shadow shrouded his body. Lu Qing knew that he was about to lose, but he didn't have any thoughts of giving up struggling and admitting defeat. Just like in a life and death battle, who would give up without a fight? He wouldn't cry until he saw the king of hell. He adjusted his muscles and quickly rolled back, but how could the rolling speed of his body compare to Wei Xingtian's striding attack? He was about to be caught up and was about to be kicked by a leg. At this moment, Lu Qing's body seemed to be hit by something. In an instant, his mind flashed. He grabbed the ground with his left hand and waved it at Wei Xingtian. A handful of gravel shot out and went straight to the opponent's face. He didn't have time to grab the ground, but this was the last place where Lin Ke and Wei Xingtian collided fiercely. The ground was already broken and cracked. Sometimes, life really needed a little luck. And this was also the result left by Lin Ke. Flying stones hit his face and sand confused his eyes. Wei Xingtian seemed to have returned to the days when he fought with gangsters. But he didn't dare to not dodge or block, because the eyes were not a place that could be trained by the bright stone skill. With Lu Qing's strength, those flying stones were enough to penetrate his eyelids and blind him. Was it worth it for a preliminaries? Wei Xingtian's body instinctively paused. He quickly raised his left hand and blocked in front of his face to block the flying stones. Taking this opportunity, Lu Qing curled his body and moved forward instead of retreating. He didn't rush to stand up, but skillfully pressed left and right to hit between the opponent's legs. Wei Xingtian was experienced and prepared. His body sank and his right hand quickly pressed down like a falling hammer. Bang! Just after the collision, Lu Qing used the force to straighten his waist and bounced up. Wei Xingtian smiled coldly. His left arm was already hanging down and he hit out a crushing punch. "I'm waiting for you to try to stand up straight." However, Lu Qing didn't stand up. He directly rose into the air and stretched his body horizontally. He narrowly avoided the crushing punch that hit his lower abdomen. Then he spread his wings like a white crane and clapped his hands to hit Wei Xingtian's temples. Wei Xingtian took a breath and withdrew his strength. His arms quickly pulled back and held next to his head. The two palms hit each other. Before the muffled sound, Lu Qing changed from hitting to pressing. He used the force to turn over Wei Xingtian's head and landed behind him. Just after landing on the ground, Lu Qing bounced his waist and back and took a few big steps forward. He once again avoided Wei Xingtian's back kick. Then he exerted force under his feet and turned his body, bringing the situation back to balance again. This change was completely out of the expectation of most of the people present. They watched in a daze. They were still shouting, but their voices were gradually weakening. Yenjika raised her hands and covered her face. She was surprised and happy. She couldn't believe it. Geyser coughed twice and said, "This little bastard has a bit of fighting wit." His words awakened all the members of the Songqing University Martial Arts Club, and they all shouted in unison, "Hey! Good!" At the same time, the audience also woke up. They were angry and resentful. They broke out a tsunami-like abuse for Lu Cheng's shameless flying sand, blinding eyes, and monkey steals peach, idiot. F***CKU. Fight fair and square if you dare. Lu Cheng had automatically filtered out their shouts. He only had eyes for Wei Xingtian opposite him. This time, he didn't put on airs. Instead, he directly used his footwork and fiercely rushed over. Because in the 2 or 3 moves just now, he heard the disharmony of his opponent's body. He really felt Wei Xingtian's hidden weakness. Lu Cheng had fought to this extent and used his full strength so many times. He also collided with Lin Kei's meteor force. If Wei Xingtian still wasn't affected, Lu Cheng would suspect that he had entered the inhuman stage of Dan's stage. That was the level of professional 4th or 5th pin. The Jin Dan in Lu Cheng's body was expanding and contracting at this time. It slowly rotated and separated the flow of ice and fire. It soothed his tiredness and kept his physical strength in the best condition. So did his strength. Facing Lu Cheng's counterattack, Wei Xingtian's face was as calm as water. He didn't show any cowardice. He put strength in his waist and back and also rushed forward to meet Lu Cheng head-on. Crack! Just as the two of them approached each other, Lu Cheng stomped his foot and cracked a green brick. An avalanche-like violent force bounced up and wriggled his spine, creating a ferocious downward slash. Bam! The ground under Wei Xingtian's feet shattered. His right arm swung and the giant hammer hit from the side. Bang! In the sound of the collision, Lu Cheng's body shook and he took another step back. But this time, he clearly felt that Wei Xingtian's strength was much weaker than at the beginning. Stepping on the ground, he suddenly exerted his strength. He bounced forward and used the force to shoot a seabed cannon, aiming at Wei Xingtian's abdomen. 24 blizzard strikes. Bang, bang, bang. Wei Xingtian didn't give even half a step. The two collided many times in a row. Lu Cheng was struggling at the beginning. He could barely hold on by retreating and other small skills. He only felt that his body was like a piece of forged iron that was constantly being hit and compressed by a giant hammer. It was quite difficult. There was a similar feeling of vibration inside his body. But after holding on for more than a minute, he slowly pulled back because his opponent's strength was really weakening. The audience in the stadium didn't notice this. They only saw Wei Xingtian suppressing Lu Cheng and beating him with a pair of chaotic hammers. It seemed that he could win at any time. So they burst into cheers again. Yimo. Then they asked and answered themselves, Invincible Wei. Invincible Wei. Under the terrifying momentum of the home field, Lu Cheng only felt that he was suppressed to a certain extent by Wei Xingtian. The muscles and fascias of his body were passively tightened under the external force's continuous attacks. Passively, there were withdrawing and pressing. This. He narrowed his eyes and followed this feeling. In his mind, he immediately visualized the picture and sound of thunderclouds everywhere and thunder shaking. Boom! There seemed to be a burst of thunder in Lu Cheng's body. His right fist suddenly hit out. When it came into contact with Wei Xingtian's hammer, the tightened muscles and fascias all exploded together, like igniting gunpowder. Thunder Roar Zen. Passive Thunder Roar Zen. Dang! Wei Xingtian suddenly felt as if he was an ancient bell that had been struck hard. There was a wave on the surface of his body, and a buzzing force entered his body, causing his bone marrow, blood, muscles, and fascia to vibrate, causing his already uncomfortable internal organs to churn again. He almost spat out a mouthful of old blood. His body was stiff there, and the audience was still shouting, "Invincible Wei." Successful in one move, it triggered the remaining influence in the enemy's body. Lu Cheng immediately stepped forward, leaned sideways, and crazily hit like an avalanche. Bang! This time, Wei Xingtian couldn't retract his strength to deal with it. He could only barely hold up his arms to block, but Lu Cheng knocked him away. Deep in Lu Cheng's eyes, water condensed into ice. There was no emotional fluctuation. He slightly bounced back and hit forward again. Dong! He seemed to hit a stone, and Wei Xingtian staggered back. Lu Cheng stepped forward, grabbed the enemy's left arm, pulled it back, and hit him sideways again. He didn't use his full strength, but used his skillful strength. Suddenly, Wei Xingtian flew out to the edge of the ring not far away. Yimo! Wei Wu! The audience watched Wei Xingtian fall inch by inch, like watching a slow-motion movie. The voices gradually stopped. Thump! Wei Xingtian landed on the ground, and the audience was silent. The referee stopped his blocking posture, raised his right hand, and announced loudly, "The second round, Lu Cheng wins." Hearing this sentence, Lu Cheng gasped, and all kinds of emotions in his heart burst out. He turned back to look at the Songqing University Martial Arts Club, looked straight at Yan Zhika, clenched his fists, and swung them up. He won. He really won. Yan Zhika jumped up from her seat, and also cheered with clenched fists. After venting the tension and pressure of the battle, Lu Cheng recalled what happened just now. He suddenly raised his index finger, put it in front of his mouth, and proudly and slowly looked around the audience. "Shut up. All of you shut up." Chapter 133. Facing Lu Cheng's shut-up gesture, the spectators in Yimo Martial Arts Stadium seemed to have their acupoints pressed and their mouths stuffed. They turned into clay puppets one after another. The whole stadium was silent for a while, presenting an extreme and strange silence. The invincible Wei Xingtian of Yimo actually lost. Although he lost to the powerful ninth pin in a tag team battle, since he was known as the invincible local, how could he not defeat two professional ninth pin fighters? After a short silence, they came back to their senses and realized that they were provoked and slapped in the face. Suddenly, they burst into a roar louder than the previous one. All kinds of classic Chinese curses were madly spewed out, such as F***K, F***K, idiot, and so on. Lu Cheng put down his finger. He was very satisfied with the extreme silence of tens of thousands of people who dared to respond to him. He was also satisfied with the various curses he encountered now. The more they cursed, the more they exposed their lack of confidence, and the more it set off the silence just now. Just like a famous saying, the enemy's abuse and slander showed that you were successful enough. No wonder Master said that it was a very satisfying thing to fight until the whole stadium was silent and all the spectators were sullen and speechless. It was simply too satisfying. At the Songqing University Martial Arts Club seats, Li Mao, Sun Jian, Lin Hua, and Guo Qing were stunned at first. When the referee officially announced, they suddenly stood up, raised their hands, ignored the spectators, and cheered loudly. They didn't have their usual appearance and showed a bit of madness. They had been suppressed for too long and too ruthlessly. The battle just now, not to mention Lu Cheng on the field, even the spectators felt that it was extremely torturous. Lu Qing was pushed into the abyss of despair several times, but he struggled to climb out again and again. Finally, he persisted until he saw the opportunity and saw the dawn of hope. He ruthlessly overturned the invincible demon king who seemed to be invincible. When the breath in their hearts was vented, it was very satisfying. It was simply like eating a ginseng fruit. All the pores on their body opened up, not a single one of them was uncomfortable. The more difficult the battle, the more the joy and excitement of the victory reward surged. When Coach Shi encouraged them in the locker room, although they were also hot-blooded and full of fighting spirit, in their hearts, they still didn't have much hope of breaking through the iron wall of the fearless squad, even if they had two strong professional 9th pin fighters on their side. After all, they were professional 8th pin fighters. However, Lu Qing and Lin Ke really created a miracle. The amount of self-denial he had before was equal to the amount of surprise he had now. Yan Jika clenched her fists and cheered. She shouted out all the emotions in her heart, such as nervousness, uneasiness, expectation, surprise, and excitement, as if she had won the match herself. Her cheeks were flushed with excitement, and her eyes were shining brightly. Her whole person was extremely bright and attractive. When she saw Lu Qing gesturing for the audience to shut up, she suddenly restrained her ecstasy. Her eyes were like water, clear and gentle. Her mouth was smiling, and her dimples were shallow. She felt strangely peaceful, as if she and Lu Qing were the only ones left in the world. At this time, she vaguely heard Coach Shi murmur something in a low voice, as if he was saying, "You really won. I just wanted to give you some motivation. Wasn't it a small goal?" Yan Jika thought silently. Lin Ke, who had been staring at the ring, pursed his lips and slowly loosened his clenched right fist. In the live broadcast room, the commentator He Xiaowei and the host of the TV station looked at each other speechlessly. They could see the awkwardness on each other's faces. Every word they had said before seemed to have turned into slaps that were ruthlessly slapped back. After a short silence, He Xiaowei's expression became serious, and he said as if nothing had happened, taking advantage of this time, "I will analyze what happened just now for everyone." Through the replay, we can clearly see that Wei Xingtian was beaten until he was stiff. His body seemed to be vibrating. We have reason to believe that contestant Lu Qing used the tremor force, which was like a bomb exploding. The impact it brought shook the body from the outside to the inside, tumbled the blood and qi, and affected the 5 viscera. Of course, with the physical quality of a professional 8th pin in the dance stage, the tremor force shouldn't have caused such a big impact. But I have noticed one thing. Director, please replay these few scenes of the match between Wei Xingtian and Lin Ke. Everyone saw it. Contestant Wei Xingtian was also stiff, but he forcibly resolved it by relying on the ability of the dance stage. In the final fierce collision between him and Lin Ke, he must have suffered internal injuries. His 5 viscera and 6 bowels were unstable, so he quickly became weaker and weaker. In the end, he was affected by Lu Qing's tremor force, which triggered the previous internal injuries. It was difficult for him to recover quickly, and he was on the verge of failure. Lu Qing fought very fiercely in this match, but he was also very calm. He seized almost every opportunity he could, from getting rid of the disadvantage to seizing the victory. Of course, he was also lucky enough to fall to the place where the rubble was left behind by the previous battle. As for the question of civilization, I will only say one thing. Martial arts itself is the most uncivilized thing. Every move and every style is created to kill or cripple the opponent, not to stop. In addition, if such a martial artist doesn't even know how to make use of the environment, he might as well go home and nurse his child. In short, this is a victory worthy of congratulations. There is a little luck factor, but more because of strength. The TV host was stunned. He looked at He Xiaowei as if he was looking at a monster. His eyes seemed to be roaring and questioning, "That's not what you said just now. How can you slap your own face?" He Xiaowei calmly looked back at him and secretly scolded, "You're so stupid. Do you think a nationally famous commentator can be found casually? This is an impetuous society. If you want to be famous, you have to be extreme. You have to shock people to death with your words. How many people scold and ridicule you is how famous you are, and fame is equal to money. It's not that I can't see some things, but I have to say the opposite. Anyone can explain it by following the rules. How can you stand out? Isn't there a song that is very good? Exaggerated. As for face? Is face more important than money? Give me a few million, and I'll scold myself to death in minutes. You don't even know how to dry your own face, how can you be a commentator? And this is why you're only a local TV host, and I'm nationally famous. While his inner thoughts were playing out in his mind, his mouth still didn't stop talking. Now Fearless Squad is in a bit of danger. Contestant Lu Qing seemed to be an arrow at the end of its flight after such an intense battle. However, if contestant Dong Yi from Fearless Squad really thinks that way, then they're finished. According to the data, Lu Qing has abnormal stamina. He might even be gifted in stamina. In Lu Qing's private forum, the live broadcast posts were exploding. Yan Shaoling and Brahman kept posting, venting their inner excitement, and joy. As for the content, many of them were meaningless toned phrases and all kinds of praises. They couldn't wait to use all the compliments they had learned. In particular, they felt that Lu Cheng's gesture to the audience to shut up was so cool that it was exploding. After a while, Yan Shaoling suddenly realized something. Wait a minute, I remember someone just posted that if Lu Qing wins, she will send seeds. Someone also said that if Lu Qing wins, she will run around naked to celebrate. Unparalleled Dragon King had been waiting for a long time and immediately replied, after reminiscing about the twists and turns of the match, I'm waiting to run around naked. Live broadcast please. Nye Chi also said happily. There was nothing more delightful than seeing Lu Qing defeat a powerful enemy and having something to cheer about. Many IDs that usually lurked appeared, saying that they were waiting to run around naked. After a short while, Okamoto's fan said, I'm the one who wants to send seeds. After the match ends, I'll drive. Beep, student card. Yan Shaoling added, I found the one who said that he wants to run around naked. Come out. At all the good names are eaten by dogs. All the good names are eaten by dogs appeared weakly. I'm going to the bathroom to run around naked. There's no live broadcast. TSK. Everyone replied in unison. In Lu Cheng's dormitory, Kai Zongming and others couldn't help but cheer loudly and celebrate heartily. The opponent's strength was fully demonstrated through 2 consecutive matches, which really established the image of an unbeatable opponent. However, Qing still defeated him. Even if the process was full of difficulties and he almost lost the match, it was fine as long as the result was good. The more difficult the process, the better the taste of victory. I can't F** King recognize Qing in the ring. Kai Zongming praised. Qin Mo clicked his tongue in agreement. Thinking about how someone who can kill me with a single slap is usually so polite to me, I feel like it's unreal. When Wei Xingtian was beaten out of the ring, the seats of Fearless Squad were silent, as if they were hallucinating. After a dozen seconds, Dong Yi threw away his jacket, stood up suddenly and walked towards the ring, leaving his confused teammates. At this time, Wei Xingtian, who majored in bright stone skill, turned over and stood up. He rubbed his chest and walked to the stone steps of the ring. He stopped Dong Yi and said in a low voice, Don't be careless. His physical strength is abnormal. He doesn't seem to be weak. Dong Yi was stunned and looked at the ring. He didn't know why, but his heart was suddenly filled with mixed feelings. Since the establishment of Fearless Squad, most people paid attention to and talked about Wei Xingtian, who was invincible in Yimo, and Qiu Yang, who was young and full of talent. Very few people mentioned him, and in the matches he participated in, it was indeed difficult for him to play an important role. But this time, Wei Xingtian failed, Qiu Yang was injured, and the opponent's momentum was at its peak. The squad was on the verge of defeat. I am the only one left, and I am the only one who can carry this heavy burden. He took a breath, nodded to Wei Xingtian, and walked up the stone steps. I am also a professional ninth pin, and I am not worse than any fighter of the same level. When Wei Xingtian returned to his seat, Qiu Yang asked with concern, Brother Wei, are you okay? Wei Xingtian shook his head, some small injuries, nothing serious. Do you think old Dong can stop Lu Qing? Qiu Yang asked anxiously. Wei Xingtian looked at the ring, paused for a moment, and finally spat out 3 words, I don't know. Seeing Dong Yi enter the ring, Yan Zhika sat down again, looking forward to Lu Cheng's second battle. Among all the people present, only she and Coach Shi knew how abnormal Cheng's physical strength was. As long as he was not injured in the previous battle, this battle was equivalent to a new appearance, and there was a small possibility that he would win. Can he really defeat Fearless Squad? She whispered to herself. Geezer sure snorted, that depends on whether the opponent is shameless. On the ring, Lu Qing stood calmly, waiting for Dong Yi to approach step by step. Right now, his momentum was like a rainbow, and he was full of confidence in himself. Chapter 134. In the seats of Songqing University Martial Arts Club, Li Mao and Guo Qing sat down again. They were whispering excitedly to each other. Do you think Qing can continue to work hard and defeat Dong Yi? Sun Jian looked at the arena and asked with both expectation and worry. Li Mao didn't turn his head. He watched Dong Yi climb up the stairs and said excitedly, I think there is a big chance. I went to Cheng's private forum and read his information and previous competition videos. I found that he is indeed talented in physical strength. As long as he didn't get hurt in the competition with Wei Xingtian, he shouldn't consume too much energy. He is at a disadvantage when facing Dong Yi, but he can completely suppress him. You've seriously watched Cheng's competition videos? Sun Jian asked in surprise. To be honest, after discovering Lu Cheng's meteoric rise to become the main force of the martial arts club, he had also looked up the relevant information. However, he had only swallowed the information in order to get a general understanding. After all, Cheng was his teammate, not his enemy. Why should he waste his time to study him in detail? Li Mao smiled bitterly and said, I'm just curious. If anyone was in his position, it was impossible not to be curious. After witnessing Lu Cheng's transformation from a true newbie to a skilled beginner, it seemed that he had become much more powerful than himself in just a short time. How could he not be curious about this? Did he not want to understand the details? If he didn't, he wouldn't be able to recover from the shock. Sun Jian didn't ask and said with a smile, I hope Cheng still has energy left after defeating Dong Yi and help me exhaust Tan Ming, then I have a good chance of ending the competition. They only thought of winning 1 or 2 rounds and going home with dignity. But now they suddenly realized that they might be able to win the whole competition. Qiu Yang was injured and there was only one professional 9th pin fighter left. But Lu Cheng was famous for his physical strength. They didn't dare to say that they would win, but at least they had a 40% to 40% chance of winning now. Sitting in front of them, Yan Zhika was silently cheering and praying. Hearing the discussion behind her, she felt a little harsh. Everyone was too confident in Cheng. Usually, when they praised Cheng like this, she would be so happy that she couldn't hide her smile. But now they were facing a strong opponent and the result was not clear yet. Couldn't they be more low-key and not give Cheng bad advice? Was he messed up because of his concern? She couldn't hold it in any longer. She turned around, put her palms together, smiled apologetically, and pleaded, please don't say it accumulate good karma, let's keep a low profile and accumulate good karma. Sun Jian, Li Mao, and the others immediately realized what was going on. They all covered their mouths in different ways, indicating that they understood. At the same time, they were a little jealous of Lu Cheng. His girlfriend's gesture, expression, and eyes were so adorable. The group of gamblers who were watching the live broadcast collapsed on the sofa one by one. Their faces were ashen, and they were dumbstruck. The leader muttered to himself with a blank look in his eyes. There doesn't seem to be anything wrong with eating by looking at the sky, what's the use of analyzing the strength of the bets? At this moment, the young man who had suggested to buy in the opposite direction of He Xiaowei suddenly realized something. Big brother, there's no problem now. That toxic healer commentator is now leaning towards Songqing University Martial Arts Club. This was the protection of the mysterious power. Hearing this, the other gamblers were instantly revived and began to watch the competition attentively. Although Lu Cheng was full of confidence, it didn't mean that he would look down on a fighter of professional ninth pin. When he saw Dong Yi walking up the ring step by step, the opponent's information naturally appeared in his mind. This ordinary-looking man was 28 years old this year. He was the oldest and the most low-key one among the three main members of the Fearless Squad. His ancestors were from a famous martial arts family in Yimo. It was said that they originated from Shangqing sect. Even the family's martial arts, Rolling Thunder Palm, was derived from one of the unique skills of the Thunder sect. However, after experiencing the changes of the country and getting rid of the old and ushering in the new, the Dong family had declined for many generations. Only Dong Yi was left. Dong Yi didn't open a martial arts school. Instead, he became a high school teacher. In his spare time, he participated in various small challenge tournaments and received a lot of prize money. He didn't rely on his salary to make a living. This time, he was invited by Wei Xingtian. He was moved by the prospect of advancing in the division and was tempted by the hope of stepping into the Dan stage. His Rolling Thunder Palm was closely related to fast and fierce. It was a completely different style from Wei Xingtian and Qiu Yang. His fighting style was more flexible and agile. However, once he grasped the opportunity, his palm could crack stones and was as fast as thunder. It had a terrifying ability to burst out in a short period of time. It wasn't inferior to strength. In the Rolling Thunder Palm, there was also a unique skill called Thunderbolt Blast. It was a sound attack similar to Lion's Roar. There was thunder in the belly and the sound from the mouth, shaking the opponent's ear and causing dizziness. For this kind of martial arts, before the martial arts reached a certain level, there was really no way to defend. One could only prepare in advance and leave some thoughts. Once encountered, one would immediately bite the tip of the tongue and other methods to quickly wake up and avoid the follow-up attack. However, if one was distracted to guard against this skill, the power of one's fists and feet would be reduced. It would be impossible to concentrate and go all out, which would weaken one's strength in disguise. Therefore, under certain circumstances, as the old saying goes, some martial arts are more threatening when not used than when used. Lu Cheng's power of blaze actually had a similar function. Unfortunately, it was not as good as Dong Yi's Thunderbolt Blast. Martial arts practitioners had rough skin and thick flesh. Once they were mentally prepared, the possibility of subconsciously shaking their hands after being burned was very low. There was no need to deliberately be distracted, unless the strength and temperature of the power of blaze was increased. Such a professional ninth pin was indeed not someone he could guarantee to win. Lu Cheng was very clear. He wouldn't put himself in a higher position than other professional ninth pin fighters just because he defeated Wei Xingtian in a tag team battle. Not to mention that there was a little luck factor just now. If he underestimated the enemy who was similar to or just a little weaker than himself, a disastrous end was foreseeable. It was unknown how many famous martial artists were ultimately ruined by this blind arrogance. There was even a lack of people who paid the price with their lives. Lu Cheng slightly moved both of his arms and felt their current situation. After the fierce battle with Wei Xingtian, although his physical strength was as good as before and there was no consumption, there were some hard wounds on the corresponding parts of his arms. Moreover, his mental and physical strength were almost exhausted. He had to rely on emotional outbursts and a strong momentum to maintain his peak state. The Jin Dan could heal fatigue and maintain physical strength, but it couldn't heal injuries and also couldn't restore mental exhaustion. How could he not rack his brains when fighting with a strong opponent like Wei Xingtian? Whether it was the unusually focused investment, the calm and firm judgment, or the belief to overcome nervousness and fear, it caused a lot of consumption of the so-called mental and physical strength. Once the mental and physical strength was consumed too much, there would be a phenomenon of thinking sluggishness, trance, and not being able to react in time. That was a big taboo in martial arts competitions. As for the Thunder Roar Zen, he was only able to use it under the condition of Wei Xingtian's help in suppressing and withdrawing. Although he also had some experience, opened the door, and found the direction, but if he really wanted to cross the threshold, he still needed a certain amount of time to explore, try, and temper. Just like what his master said, breakthrough was a process, not a node. He stood in the center with a high momentum, but calmly and steadily, watching Dong Yi go up the ring and stand on the other side of the referee. Dong Yi suppressed the mixed feelings in his heart, and his ears were filled with cheers one after another. Dong Yi. Come on. It was still a response type of cheering, but it was more than a level lower than the previous roar. Dong Yi could even hear the fear and uneasiness of the fear of failure contained in it. Am I their life-saving straw? Dong Yi closed his eyes and suddenly opened them again. Behind him was only Tan Ming of amateur first pin. If he couldn't beat Lu Qing in this match, or caused him to be injured, the result could be imagined. Although Fearless Squad was strong, there was no way back. At this moment, the referee didn't give Lu Qing a chance to recover, and shouted loudly, "Start." Dong Yi immediately visualized a flash of lightning in his mind. He bounced his waist and back, and the strength went through the soles of his feet, and pounced on Lu Qing as fast as thunder. Lu Qing had already adjusted his body to let his center of gravity flow like mercury, so that he could display his strength better than a professional ninth pin fighter. At this moment, as his waist and back wriggled, there seemed to be a round ball in his body, and it drove him to the side of Dong Yi like a ghost. But because his opponent was too fast, he couldn't pull away. Seeing this, Dong Yi didn't turn around. He stomped his feet, and his left elbow hit out horizontally with a snap, fast and fierce. Lu Qing put his left foot inward, straightened his back, tightened his right arm, and suddenly pressed down, just in time to block this fierce elbow attack. But at this moment, Dong Yi used the blocked elbow as a fulcrum, and with a snap, he threw out his forearm, and hit Lu Qing's genitals with a crisp palm. The whole movement was done in one breath, and it was extremely fierce. Snap! Lu Qing's left hand had been waiting there for some time, and it blocked the attack without panic. And this was all because he and Yan Zhika had carefully studied the video of Dong Yi's fight a few days ago. In today's society, martial arts competitions were flourishing, and the spread of fighting videos was fast because of the internet, showing a trend of a big explosion of information. Every fighter only needed to fight a few more times, and his future opponents would thoroughly study his moves, and many of his killer moves and unique moves would no longer be unexpected. This was something that the ancient fighters couldn't imagine. In their view, it was right to defeat all the geniuses with one move. Today, they killed a strong opponent in the south with this move, and tomorrow, they would go to the north without knowing anything about it. In addition, the challenge tournament was a life and death battle with a referee, which only reduced the death and disability rate. Apart from the psychological aspect, it was not much different from reality, which attracted the participation of strong fighters. Therefore, the number of fights that the fighters of today had in their lives was probably 10 times or even 100 times more than those of their predecessors, and in every fight, they had almost no secrets. They had to constantly explore and innovate their moves in order to defeat their opponents. Under the pressure of this almost cruel environment, the fighters of the same level in modern times would definitely be better than those in ancient times. Dong Yi had a deep understanding of this. Failing to succeed in one move, he immediately took advantage of the rebound force to withdraw his left arm, so as not to be caught by Lu Cheng's big and small hand wrap, and enter the field of listening skill, which he was best at. Seeing Dong Yi retreat, Lu Cheng immediately slid forward, tightened his thigh muscles, and kicked out with the tip of his foot, aiming at his opponent's ankle. He wanted to use the fierceness and madness of the brutal blizzard, combined with the rainbow-like momentum that defeated Wei Xingtian, and completely suppress his opponent. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.